What's going on? Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here with us. We are LTMB. Let the madness begin. This is LTMB Live. I'm Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the program. New week, June 26th. It's primary day.
Yeah.
Primary day for a lot of states. I think there's 7 states voting today. Let's see. It's Colorado. There's Utah. There's South Carolina here. There's Maryland, Oklahoma, Mississippi. And if I didn't say New York as well.
Your boy was here yesterday.
Oh, yeah, our boy.
Your boy was here yesterday. I totally forgot. I had a friend who was like taking pictures of Air Force One as it circled the airport because it was bad weather, so it had to circle a little bit. I was like, man, this mug brought bad weather, dog. This cat brought bad weather, man.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of he was at a high school here, well, in West Columbia. He was at a high school close by. I saw a little bit of it. He's trying to campaign for the current
McMaster.
Governor. Yeah, Henry McMaster. He wants to see him get reelected. He has one primary challenger right now. Can't remember that guy's name. I've seen the commercials, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But yeah, it's a runoff here in South Carolina, and it's a runoff in Mississippi as well. So the other 5 states are, I believe, voting for the first time. So in a few of them, polls have already closed, been closed for at least an hour or so. I haven't done any checking or anything yet. So as the show goes on, we'll see if we can get some updated news because some of these races will probably have been called by then. All right. So
you think there's more participation in the runoffs?
Oh, no. I would lean towards that there is much less activity, much less participation in the runoffs, because one, it's not going to be broadcast as heavily as the official primary day was. So I just don't know, man.
I saw like some articles in the state, but in the Post and Courier, but it was like not even the front page. It was it wasn't front page. It was the bottom of the front page.
And see the right here in this district, the races between Annabelle Robertson and Sean Kerrigan. That's only 20%.
Yeah, it's only 20%.
So yeah, in this district, Sean Kerrigan and Annabelle Robertson, on primary day, which was 2 weeks ago, they came within. What was it, like a percentage point or maybe 2 percentage points?
Yeah, they came within 2 percentage points of each other, and I think Robertson was closest to the 50% threshold, but it was like 49%, right?
No,
47%.
It was like 43, 41.
43, 41. I thought it was closer than
43, 41, because the conservative Democrat took like 6,000 votes.
The one who retained a smaller percentage of the vote, a significantly smaller percentage than last time. You talking about that dude?
Yeah, because he almost won the last go around 2 years ago. Phil Black,
yeah. The very conservative Democrat.
Yeah. So it's a wonder where his 6,000 votes are going to come from. Whoever these 6,000 people are that voted for a conservative Democrat, I don't know who they're going to vote for this time.
They may not vote.
They may not
vote.
Or they may vote in the Republican primary.
I was about to say, because he's essentially conservative. It wouldn't make any sense. Maybe people just voted for him because he was a Democrat, but then didn't look at his conservative views. As of right now, it looks like Annabelle Robertson is kind of narrowly outpacing Sean Kerrigan. Annabelle has 52.9%, while Sean Kerrigan has 47.1%, but only 18% of the precincts have reported.
All right, and then New York too. That's governor. So that's Cynthia Nixon and that's Cuomo. So we're gonna see that, those results. Also in New York too, in the House district, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's trying to become, a new congressman or not new congress member. So
regardless of what happens in New York, man, I honestly hope Cynthia Nixon remains like a fixture within this conversation. As far as like, I want her to constantly be up the ass of Cuomo. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about all the time. Like she's campaigning all the time. I don't want her to go anywhere. Right. You know what I'm saying? I know she probably has some other things she has to do because, you know what I'm saying? But I hope she does kind of remain as consistent as she has been this entire time. I don't expect her to continue a campaign, but I expect her voice to be
just politically active.
Oh man, yeah, dog,
yeah. All right. There's one story that we want to talk about, but we're not going to go, I guess, too far into it because we don't have a lot of the details, or at least we don't have a lot of details confirmed. A man, I believe it was a 30-year-old man in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was killed by police officers on Saturday. The man's name was Thurman Blevins, a 30-year-old black man. And there's conflicting reports about what actually happened. So police say that there was some reports of some man firing a handgun off randomly in some kind of like near some intersection. And I guess there were several reports to the police about this man. So they found Thurman Blevins somewhere near the scene. It wasn't exactly the place that it was reported.
Like on the curb or something?
Yeah,
on the curb.
He was sitting on the curb and he was sitting next to a woman. So they say that as soon as, I guess, they were approaching him, he got up and ran, and he had a gun in his hand, and he was running. And I believe they tried to deploy a taser, but he got up and he ran. Somewhere after that, after some pursuit of him, they shot him. And they killed him.
They went to like a alley or something?
Yeah, it was down some alley, and they shot him and killed him. Again, we don't have all the details. Now, the word from witnesses that were on the scene were saying that he was sitting on the curb with his friend, who's a woman. They were drinking. When he ran, he had a bottle in his hand.
Bottle of alcohol.
Yeah, so he was yelling like, "Don't shoot, don't shoot!" And from what they're saying too, he got shot in the back. We don't know. The body cam footage has not been released yet, but the word from the Minneapolis Police Department, they have said that they are going to release the body footage or the body cam footage soon. So hasn't happened yet.
And when did this happen? Like,
this happened on Saturday.
Okay, it happened on Saturday. So basically, well, I wouldn't say if they release it quickly that it's a high chance of that it kind of gonna absolve them, but since it's heavily publicized, they kind of have to release it.
They have to. And I mean, you said this before too, that when they release it soon, it usually
it's an indication that they probably know they're not at fault.
Yeah, like they don't have anything to hide.
They don't have anything to hide. Usually when they're uber transparent, they know they didn't do anything wrong. They have nothing to hide. But
I will say that this happened on the weekend, so there's no way we would have expected them to release it on Saturday night, on Sunday. Now we've made it all through Monday, and now we're here on Tuesday night, and nothing.
Again, since this case is heavily publicized, it would probably behoove the department to kind of clear their name as quickly as possible. I know I would if I was any of the officers on scene, or if I was some sort of high-ranking officer at the department. I would want that footage to be released immediately, like Monday at 8 a.m.
Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, well, like I said, we'll have to keep the audience updated on when those additional details are released, because until that happens, it's hard to actually talk about this with any kind of intellect, because we don't have all the information.
Yeah, I think we don't want to make a habit of always wanting to be first on something.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
you know, so we want to be the first ones to have correct information. So
yeah, I mean, it's very sad and it's very unfortunate that a man's life was ended. But again, we can't assess the events. We can't assess blame until,
because all we have is like
story.
Witness statements and statements from the police. So
just quickly too, I know probably many people have seen the White House press secretary. She's been in the news recently because she was at a Lexington, Virginia restaurant establishment by the name of
Red Hen or something?
The Red Hen. And the owner asked her to leave, because she is an official within the Trump administration, and
they don't kind of like they not only don't like the direction that the administration is going, they feel that this administration is not doing a good job representing everyone in America.
Right.
And it wasn't like this spontaneous get the hell out of my restaurant.
No.
It was more like she actually prepared her staff for this.
Yeah, she actually took the vote.
She took the vote because I think she actually has some people in her staff that are like, I guess part of the LGBT community. So they were like, they understood who she was and what she represented. And they were like, yeah, we got to send a message here.
Okay. So, like I said, they asked her to leave, and she did leave. So earlier, well, no, just actually within the past hour, I saw a notification saying that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is now going to be receiving Secret Service protection.
So she was... Clarification. Was she kicked out of this restaurant?
She was not kicked out.
Okay.
She was asked to leave. And now look, when you're asked to leave, I've seen a lot of reports stating that she was kicked out. That's not exactly being kicked out. I know that from her stance, like, that's the way she perceived it, is like, they don't want me here, so essentially it's being kicked out. But she could have said, well, no, I'm not leaving. And she had every right to stay. But when you are asked to leave, why would you want to stay? You know, they don't want you here. You know, why would you continue to give them your business?
So this kind of recent news about Secret Service security being ramped up for her specifically is quite close to this incident.
Seems to be connected.
Do you really think that they are actually ramping up Secret Service security for her, or is that just some sort of White House press release just to get her some sympathy for being a bigot and people responding to her being a bigot?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, did anybody? It wasn't like was a Nielsen chick?
Yeah, Kirsten
Nielsen, where she was in a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, and
right.
Nobody who worked at the restaurant was shouting, but
right.
people,
there were other protesters.
There were protesters and patrons that, like, either they were already there or they saw her go in there,
right.
and they were yelling at her and she left.
Right.
This situation is a little bit different.
It's very different.
So it wasn't as rowdy. So there was nobody yelling things like, you know what I'm saying, don't let me catch you outside, Sarah. Or, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna fuck your shit up, Sarah. You know what I'm saying? If I see you in these streets, it was nobody saying anything like that.
It didn't seem to be, nothing I saw kind of outlined this as a very confrontational type of like, hey, can you leave? It wasn't like, I don't think the owner's voice raised, or I just, it was a like, hey, you know, we'd like you to leave.
Yeah, and her whole pops got on Twitter and of course defended her. She
of course
essentially said something like denying service for political beliefs, and something is I can't remember what it said, but it basically called the people at the restaurant or the owner like a bigot. And I'm like, no. And I'm like,
interesting coming from you.
Interesting coming from you, because what did he do most recently? Like the biggest thing he did.
I remember going back to, what was that, 2015, 2016, when he was on stage. He was celebrating that bigot Kim Davis's release from prison.
She didn't want to, I guess, do her job.
Yeah, she didn't want to
issue marriage licenses.
And he was all in support of her. He's on the stage hugging her, chanting.
And that was a service that she was doing for the state. So she was getting paid. She was required to do it. It wasn't like a private business. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But these people at the restaurant,
and she wasn't denying service to people who were, I guess, harming her in some sort of way. She wasn't doing it because her rights were being taken away. Right. It's definitely not equivalent to, let's say, a civilian being discriminated against, because Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a public official. It's very different. That's a good way to show a public official that you are dissatisfied with their job. You know, she doesn't
protest them in public, right?
Exactly. They don't. The restaurant owner felt that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is not serving everyone, so guess what? She doesn't get served. That's the message here.
Yep. I got no problem with it. All right, so let's move on. So in some big news today, on Tuesday, in a 5-4 vote on Tuesday, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Trump administration's ban on nationals from 5 Muslim-majority countries entering the United States of America. So in the majority opinion authored by Chief Justice John Roberts, the court said the president has broad authority and discretion to enact such a ban. So this is some of what Justice John Roberts had to say. The president lawfully exercised that discretion based on his findings following a worldwide multi-agency review that entry of the covered aliens would be detrimental to the national interest.
It was along party lines, right?
It was along party lines.
Of course, it was along party lines.
The swing vote, of course, is always Kennedy, but on this issue, he voted with the conservatives. So how this all came to be, this was within the first week of his presidency. I think it was exactly 7 days into his presidency. Donald Trump issued the first draft of the Muslim ban, because there have been multiple ones, because there have been multiple court challenges to the Muslim ban, travel ban. So the latest policy included a ban on people from Iran, Libya, Syria, Somalia, and Yemen. Hawaii has led the challenge against this Muslim travel ban, and they have argued that it discriminates against people based on religion, which is in violation of immigration law. So just briefly going back to part of what Robert said, it reads to me like a political statement. It doesn't seem to be coming from a justice on the Supreme Court bench. He says, following a worldwide multi-agency review, the entry of covered aliens would be detrimental to the national interest. Now, whose opinion is it that is detrimental to the national interest, or to the national interest?
It's Trump's opinion.
And his opinion is, you can't say that it's not based on political leanings.
Because if it wasn't, well, I can't really say that. I was about to say if it wasn't based on political leanings, I would say that he would kind of have the opposite opinion. And no one's ever kind of issued such a ban before.
No. He had been talking about this on the campaign trail. On the campaign trail before he became president of the United States, he has said that we got to keep these Muslims out until we know what the hell is going on.
And then as soon as he gets in office, what does he do?
He enacts this plan to block travel from 5 Muslim majority countries.
The thing I was waiting for is a kind of a more detailed and extensive explanation about what those national interests are.
Right.
But
what would be detrimental to the national interest?
What would be detrimental to the national interest, and like, what's the context of that? Other than, I guess, having a president that wanted this agenda to go forward, what's the detriment?
That they're Muslim. That's the only thing one would conclude. And so if that's the case, and like I said, the argument against this is that it is in violation of immigration law, and you're setting up, I guess you're establishing that it is legal to be a bigot. It's legal to say that this type of religion is not allowed in the United States of America, which again is a violation of the Constitution. It's a violation of immigration law. So what is to prevent this administration from saying that, Indian people from India, no longer allowed here. Africans, the whole continent, sorry, can't come here.
Oh, and what if things start to fall apart with North Korea?
Exactly.
What if things start, you know what I'm saying? Because we've seen, I guess when a country doesn't want to play ball exactly as he does, he tends to show hostility towards them. That's why he's kind of showing hostility towards countries like Iran and wants to rip up the nuclear deal that we had with them. So what's preventing Donald Trump from maybe, I guess, changing direction on North Korea? Let's say, Kim Jong-un doesn't really follow through with the latest superficial agreements that took place a few weeks ago. Like, what if there's some news that he is kind of reinvigorated his nuclear program? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there something preventing Donald Trump from saying, hey, we don't want any people from North Korea in our country?
Well, see, as a part of the last policy, North Korea was included, but not for the same reason. Yeah. So I guess when you're saying that we're not going to allow travel from North Korea, people from North Korea to come into the country, I guess you would have some kind of reasoning, because you would say, okay, they're a nuclear threat, blah, 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 blah.
Even that doesn't make any sense because, I guess when you're talking about a country being a nuclear threat, like, I don't think that really connects to individuals coming into the country. And I do remember I do remember we talked about this before. Matter of fact, the administration did use the word terrorism to justify North Korea being on that list. And we were like, since when has North Korea ever been connected to terrorism?
He actually said the words that North Korea was a state sponsor of terrorism.
So you see what I'm saying? So even though they had no facts to back that up, they still put North Korea on that list because of that.
Right.
And so we already have seen an example of that. So if they can use using North Korea as an example, if they could establish a ban that's not accompanied with actual facts, what is preventing them from just fabricating some other reason to ban people from another country?
Because it would be detrimental to the national interest.
Which is just a vague way of saying we can do what we want and use the national interest as an excuse.
And then the Supreme Court will be there to legitimize bigotry, because that's exactly what they just did. So in a dissenting opinion, Justice Sonia Sotomayor was joined by Justice Bader Ginsburg, and she said, ultimately, what began as a policy explicitly calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States has since morphed into a proclamation putatively based on national security concerns. But this new window dressing cannot conceal an unassailable fact. The words of the president and his advisors create the strong perception that the proclamation is contaminated by impermissible discriminatory animus against Islam and its followers.
It's interesting that, not just his followers, but there are a lot of progressives out there, a lot of independents, a lot of whatever. People of all different walks of, I guess, belief systems as far as politically. The whole Russia kind of narrative, people are thrown off by that. They call it Russian hysteria. And they think, focusing on Russia so much in regards to our politics, our electoral politics, kind of gets people to irrationally fear Russia. Russia is the enemy. Russia is the enemy. It's Russia hysteria. It's fear Russia, Russia, Russia. But I don't really see kind of that same rhetorical activity as far as kind of pushing away that the same perspective on Islam or Muslims, like Muslim hysteria or a hysteria against Islam, which is what this is to me. It's actually much, much worse.
It's legalized bigotry, man. Well, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but just noting the 5 countries that are on this list, the Muslim majority countries, the Iran, Libya, Syria, Somalia, and Yemen. the last one, Yemen, strikes me as just like them being on the list, but not Saudi Arabia being on the list.
Because Saudi Arabia is what?
Saudi Arabia is an ally. Now, Saudi Arabia has long been linked to terrorism, been linked to terrorism for many, many years. And also, the 9/11 tragedy that happened here in New York City, 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia.
And then what is Saudi Arabia involved in now? And also, not just what they're involved in, what are we helping them with?
Exactly. For over 2 years now, Saudi Arabia has been enacting this war on Yemen. They've been bombing them. They've been killing thousands of civilians. It's a humanitarian crisis there. Starvation. That's what Saudi Arabia has been doing to Yemen with our help, because we provide, I believe we're actually providing we've been providing arms, but we're providing tactical assistance. We're refueling planes. And I believe, I can't be sure, we actually even have like bodies on the ground now too. Or like I said, I can't confirm that, but at some point I did read that. I can't confirm it.
So how does
we are helping.
So how does that look? For helping Saudi Arabia cause massive amounts of starvation and death through,
we're helping them be terrorists
through military actions, and then we turn around and deny people entry from that country. How you know what I'm saying? How is that even acceptable? Like, that's not even rational. Well, actually, it is rational if you look at it from the standpoint that we're trying to prevent our chickens from coming home to roost. You know what I'm saying?
It's disgusting, man. And like I said before, it's legitimizing bigotry. Donald Trump and everybody that may be in his administration, you're allowing them to discriminate against people based on their particular faith. As in, you're saying that this faith is a problem. Just because they are Muslim, they're a problem. That says it all. All right. We're going to let Facebook go now. Facebook, thank you for stopping by here. We're going to continue the rest of the show on YouTube, so I hope that you do please join us. The link is in the description box. All you have to do is click it. It's very, very, very simple. So we have lots more to talk about. We have Permit Patty to talk about, trying to shut down the aspirations of
a young
8-year-olds.
entrepreneur.
Man, oh man.
We
also have another bigot, to talk about, that was being all kinds of Trump type of racist in the face of somebody of Mexican heritage, I believe. We have to talk about next. We're gonna get into the.
You gonna talk about Brock Turner 2.0?
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about Brock Turner 2.0. But also, this dude is worse. This dude is worse.
Oh, it's like he's like upgrade. It's like upgrade.
Yeah. But yeah, the next thing we're going to cover is some more about the separating families and just that whole process and what's been going on since Donald Trump did sign the executive order to stop the separation of families. So we got a lot to talk about. We hope that you do join us. Just click the link and we'll see you there. All right. Let's get to this. Moose Guy's talking about, Venezuela and North Korea are also countries in that travel ban. We didn't talk about that because this ruling isn't about them. The ruling isn't about them. It wasn't there wasn't a challenge to Venezuela and North Korea. It was about the five Muslim countries, because they're Muslim. Like I said, there may be some reasons why you would say, well, you don't want travel from people from North Korea to come here. there may be some reasons. It's loose, as you know, like we were talking about with Mike. Venezuela as well. Loose reasons, but still, it's not the same as the Muslim ban. It's not the same as that. All right, so yeah. This was last week that President Trump, in the face of a lot of controversy about the whole separating children from their families, these migrants that are crossing the border, the Trump administration had initiated this brand new policy that they were going to separate them. So recently, Donald Trump, he signed an executive order saying that he was going to end that process. And outside of that that executive order too, what they're now going to be doing is try to detain the whole family, the children and the parents, indefinitely, because right now they're unable to do so because of a court ruling, the Flores v. Reno ruling that stipulates that children that cross the border with their parents, and even children that cross alone, they cannot be held more than 20 days in captivity or in custody. So Trump tweeted out just a couple of days ago, I guess expressing his frustration with the whole process that has to be taken with people that migrate into the United States. He expressed some frustration. This was his tweet. He said, "We cannot allow all of these people to invade our country. When somebody comes in, we must immediately, with no judges or court cases, bring them back from where they came. Our system is a mockery to good immigration policy and law and order. Most children come without parents." Now, first of all, I just want to know how horrible this guy is with grammar. Bring them back from where they came. That's not good English. That's not good English.
Yeah, I think that's like
bring them back. You mean
take them back?
Take them back to where they came from.
Bring them back from where? Okay. Yeah, no. That's just kind of like the beginning of it.
That's just the
beginning. Something that jumped out at me was the fact that he used the word invade.
Invade.
And again, that's not making any kind of distinctions about the motive behind why some people want to come over here.
Right. Are they invading?
Exactly. Like when you use the word invade, usually what comes with invasions are like, attacks, like, weapons being used.
We're coming to do you harm.
We're coming to do you harm. I think that is the purpose of him using the word invade. That word has significant context, and he knows it does. Like pretty much get people to just, or it's an attempt to get people to disacknowledge that there's some people who are trying to escape certain conditions. And a lot of these people are willing to take the risk. You know why? Because those conditions are so dire.
Yes.
That they are willing to deal with the consequences once they get here. And
he wants to associate everyone, all the migrants that come across the border, as an invading type of force. He wants that in your head so that you don't show these people any kind of empathy.
Notice he didn't say, and see, this is the problem when we talk about Donald Trump and this administration, because I wouldn't say they put out contradictory rhetoric, but their rhetoric is all mixed together. So the same way he talks about gangs in MS-13, and he kind of uses that as a backdrop to, I guess, promote his immigration agenda. He talks about just undocumented people in general in the same way. So now he's talking about undocumented individuals, not particularly MS-13, being invaders. So what happens is people just, I guess, psychologically kind of mix those two things up, and they're all the same.
No doubt. The whole thing about no judges or no court cases, actually, that can be done already, because if there are, I believe, within 100 miles of the border, they can send them back.
Yeah, just turn them around.
Yeah, but if people are seeking asylum, then they have to go through the process. And again, if they're outside of that 100 miles, then, you know, there's a process to go through. So everybody gets due process. It just doesn't concern people who are here legally, people that are citizens. It involves non-citizens as well. There is a due process clause. It relates to everybody, whether you have citizenship or not.
And, you know, like, to him and to his administration, no judges or court cases doesn't just mean no due process. It means no oversight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do not want. They want to deal with undocumented immigrants with little to no oversight.
Yep. So
So then nobody can have anything to say about what they're doing.
and do you think it might be a savage process?
Why on earth would you even ask that question, bro? I mean, do you have, you know, some evidence to offer, or maybe some perspective, you know, based on what we've observed from this administration? No.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing that bothered me about this issue, what's linked to it, the separating the children from the families, from the parents. There were some pictures that have been circulating in the media, and some of these pictures were taken back in 2014, 2016. So, of course, the conservative viewpoint is like, oh, man, you just inflaming tensions. You know, you're just getting people all riled up. And this actually happened under President Obama. Now, while that's true, the conditions are the same. So there might not be any pictures of what's going on currently, but there have been reports from people that have seen what's going on in these facilities, these detainment centers. And they have described children sleeping on the floor, metal blankets, chain link fences, same kind of conditions that we're seeing in the pictures. So yeah, while it was sort of, I wouldn't say it's somewhat misleading to say that this picture hails from current day, but the situation is the same. You can't just...
Not only is the situation the same, the situation is actually getting worse.
Yeah.
It's getting worse. They were separating, I guess, children from their parents very expeditiously,
Right.
At a higher rate and for a different motive than the Obama administration. So, number one, at a higher rate, and number two, a different motive.
That's right.
Separating children from their parents was happening during the Obama administration, but those children were separated as a kind of an extreme,
Like a precaution
for something else.
Right. Which is not the issue that we're talking about.
Yeah.
There could be cases where you would have to separate children from their families. Some type, like if you perceived some type of harmful situation, or maybe you thought there was a question of like, oh, you know what? I don't think these children are the, you know, children of these people. You know, of course there's going to be exceptions. That's not what we're talking about here. There have been over 2,000 children that have been separated from their families, and they still have not been returned.
And most of them, most of those 2,000 were over the past couple of months, right?
Right. So anyway, that leads us into another, I guess, a connecting story to this, because again, in that presidential executive order that President Trump signed, he said, "It is unfortunate that Congress's failure to act and court orders have put the administration in the position of separating alien families to effectively enforce the law." So we made, you know, we made mention of that. We chose to highlight that specific section of the executive order because he is stating that the only way to effectively enforce the law is to separate these children from their families.
Which suggests that that was not a policy of any prior administration.
Right.
Because if he's saying, hey, we are exercising our power in this way, in this particular way, because that kind of suggests that nobody was doing it before.
Right. So with that being said, and with the executive order now signed, like I said previously, the Trump administration is now seeking to challenge the ruling, the Flores v. Reno ruling, so that they can detain children and their parents together indefinitely over the 20-day mark. So the administration is selling the idea that there's only two ways to appropriately address this program, or to appropriately address this issue. One, separate children from their parents, or two, hold them all together indefinitely. That's all we got. Those are the only options that we have.
That's not a process, though. That's not even a process.
But that's what they said. That's the only options that they have. Now, is that correct?
Yes and no.
Yes and no. All right, so why?
Because there was a process.
Right.
There was a process.
Yes. So the process that there was previously, it was called the Family Case Management Program. Okay, and it was more efficient, it was less expensive, and it was a more humane approach to the whole issue of migration into the United States of America.
Wait. Okay, so that was a program that existed.
That was yes.
Okay, was it efficient or effective?
Yeah, it was efficient. It was, like I said, it was more efficient, less expensive, more humane. All three of them.
Okay, so like when you talk about like really efficient, like what how efficient and what level are you talking about?
All right, so let's let an article in Vox kind of speak for us, okay? The Family Case Management Program, which President Donald Trump ended several months after taking office, was meant to keep track of immigrant parents and kids in removal proceedings without having to keep them locked up. It was relatively small, about 950 families in 5 locations, but it was hugely successful. More than 99% of families in the program showed up for their current dates, and 97% participated in required check-ins with their case managers, according to a report from GeoCare, the private prison company that operated the program. And it reportedly cost the government just $36 per family each day versus $319 per bed per day in a family detention center.
So if immigrants comply 99% of the time as far as a court date, and comply 98% of the time in regards to check-ins, that seems pretty efficient to me.
Yeah. You would say that.
I thought the Trump administration, wanted a more efficient immigration process, right?
That's what they've been saying. That's what they've been saying. But they didn't alert us to this particular program.
Well, not only did they not alert us to the program, what did they do to the program?
They scrapped it.
So technically, there was a program that made, I guess, processing families more efficient, and compliance was efficient as well.
Yes.
But they scrapped it months after he was inaugurated. So technically, they got rid of something and now are complaining that they don't have an efficient process.
Hands are tied behind the back, can't do nothing. So they scrapped several months into office. Donald Trump ended the FCMP program abruptly, right? So again, that means that his preference was to programs that were more expensive, less humane, less efficient.
Wait now, the Ike spokeswoman, whatever her
Ike spokeswoman. Yeah.
What's her name? Did you have her name?
Sarah Rodriguez.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't even feel important enough to even jot down her name. I was so mad. But she said the program was discontinued because there were other alternatives, and those alternatives proved more efficient and less costly. But she didn't name any of those programs.
She didn't. Look. We haven't talked about that particular paragraph that was in this article, okay? And the quotes from her, I mean, it wasn't verbatim, but that was the gist. There are other programs. She says, the ICE spokeswoman, Sarah Rodriguez, she said that there were other programs that were comparable to the FCMP program.
Had the same level of compliance.
Same level of compliance.
How do you get higher than 99%?
But no, it was the same. It was comparable.
Comparable.
It was about similar. It was similar, right?
Similar.
Okay.
Similar.
And She said that removals of individuals on alternative to detention occur at a much higher rate. So there are programs that actually remove individuals at a much higher rate than the FCMP. Like Mike asked, where them programs at?
Where them programs at?
Where you ain't where they at? Like when I'm asking, like when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, okay, the only thing we're seeing and hearing from the Trump administration is that we have to separate children from their families. After there was so much controversy and so much backlash about it, he signed a presidential order or an executive order ending that, but saying that now we're trying to indefinitely hold children and their families together indefinitely. That's the only things that we have heard from this administration. So if there are other alternatives, where are they at?
I guess if we want to determine whether scrapping this program was the right thing to do, wouldn't you ask, let's say, people that served on the advisory board for the family care? The family care.
Yeah, you would.
Management program?
Yeah, you would.
Wouldn't you ask people who were part of that advisory board whether scrapping that program was good, and whether these alternative programs that this ICE spokeswoman has talked about actually exist? You know what I'm saying? Is there anybody that has said anything?
I think you're gonna. I think you're leaning. I think you're leaning towards somebody.
Yeah, because remember they did it abruptly. They didn't inform any of the members of the advisory committee for this program.
Right. But there was somebody that did state pretty much the same thing that we read off in that Vox article.
Yes, Michelle Borain says the method for assessing the program doesn't make sense. That was kind of in response to what the ICE spokeswoman said.
Right. And she read off pretty much the same numbers, that it was 99% efficient. These people showed up for the case hearings. They were contacting their case managers. It was a very efficient process. But again, it was scrapped by the Trump administration in favor of a more expensive plan, a less humane plan, and what was the other one? Less expensive, less humane,
and
less efficient.
More of a similar compliance.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense unless you factor in the possibility that the intention of getting rid of these programs is to cause pain and suffering. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're factoring that in. I didn't think about that as soon as she said, it doesn't make sense. And I was like, what, it doesn't. But I'm thinking it doesn't make sense in terms of what's best for these families.
Right. If you're thinking that the Trump administration is actually trying to tackle this way or this issue with integrity, like he's actually trying to be humane, then no, you wouldn't ever arrive at the truth if you really thought that, because they're not telling you the truth.
So we get rid of the program that actually works. So why would you do that though? So you that's I would say that's kind of like due process, right? You get rid of a system that actually holds these people accountable, and it gives them a reason to check in. So these people were being kept track of. So it's not like they're just losing people in the system without being able to find them. Why wouldn't you want a system like that? It's almost like he wants this to be chaotic. It's almost like he wants to create a chaotic system. Why would you get rid of that program? He wants to create a chaotic system so he could just say, hey, well, we got to do something about this chaos that we created.
Yep. Let's hold him indefinitely. Let's scrap the rules for holding children. The rules for holding children in Flores, Reno. If they scrap it, if they're able to just overturn it,
but
there are no more rules.
But this
anymore.
Is his baby, though. Immigration is his baby. So actually, it would probably do him good not to fix this situation and constantly
have something to excoriate, I guess, Democrats about.
Yeah, no, not just that. Not just excoriate Democrats. His entire, I guess, persona, his entire agenda, his entire political platform is based on creation of enemies, no matter who those enemies are.
That's right.
Whether it be, Muslims, whether it be immigrants, whether it be black people, whether it be gay people.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it be his political enemies, whether it be the media. So his entire kind of being and his entire, his
shtick. His whole shtick is creating the enemy.
And it's a shtick, but it's not. It's weird because it's not a shtick that's like phony though. I think he's really like that. He's just using who he is as a shtick, and he's going to lose that if immigration is solved in any kind of way. He's going to lose that. He has to maintain his base. There has to be a problem there, and to me there's a financial incentive in this as well, because if it was cheaper to do it the other way with the family case management program, and it cost the federal government more, I wonder who's getting that money. Wonder who's getting that money. Could it be the people who are building these detention facilities? Yeah. These contractors?
You would think so, right?
Oh, we know so.
But I remember months ago, and this isn't really too connected to it, but it shows that Trump is really just he's not really about trying to institute positive change. There's a group called Life After Hate. We talked about that months ago. Yeah. They got a grant from President Obama in the last month of his presidency, and the group is the goal of the group is to fight against hate. They are former hateful people. They're white people. They're former like neo-Nazis. The leader of it, the spokesperson, and I wouldn't call him the founder, but the person who is in charge of the group and organizes the group was a white supremacist himself, right? Yes. These are people that come from hateful past, but now they've turned around and they see the error of their ways, and they're trying to help other people, other hateful people, these neo-Nazis, these white supremacists, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. They're trying to actually talk to them because they know how to best relate to them better than anybody else. So they're trying to do something positive and get them to turn their lives around and get rid of all that hate inside of them, because it's not really based on anything like real, So again, they were given a grant by the Obama administration. Pretty much as soon as the Trump administration came in, they pulled that. They pulled their funding. Now, why would you pull their funding when they're really trying to do a public service here? Trying to reduce the hate in this country. That's something that Trump has said. And I remember on the campaign trail, he said that he would be a great cheerleader. He said he had hoped that Obama would have been a better cheerleader, a better, I guess, a better politician that would have aligned people, that would have united people. And he said that he could really do that job.
Maybe he was, maybe the context of what he meant by uniting people was different from what we got heard. Like, just taking it at face value, that might mean something different to him. You know what I'm saying? Uniting people under what ideas? Uniting people under what attitude? Uniting
certain people.
Uniting certain people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He doesn't actually want to unite all people.
No. That's obvious here.
Yeah. So on, and let me get to this one.
Was it related?
Yeah. On Friday, President Donald Trump held an event at the White House for angel families. Angel families are families of victims who were killed by undocumented immigrants. So we have some video from some of that event, some words by Donald Trump at this event.
These are the American citizens permanently separated from their loved ones. The word permanently being the word that you have to think about, permanently. They're not separated for a day or 2 days. These are permanently separated. These are the stories that Democrats and people that are weak on immigration, they don't want to discuss, they don't want to hear, they don't want to see, they don't want to talk about. No major networks sent cameras to their homes or display the images of their incredible loved ones across the nightly news. They don't do that. They don't talk about the death and destruction caused by people that shouldn't be here, people that will continuously get into trouble and do bad things.
Yeah, it's just so disappointing that the media is not using this family's tragedy in an irresponsible way. I mean, that's just why is the media doing that?
See, man, look, I feel for these families. Who wouldn't feel for these families? Because if you lose a loved one, the loss of life is tragic. So I definitely feel for these families. But to say that no major networks are covering these events, nobody's coming to stick a microphone in these families' faces and try to get their story out. Do you know how many people are killed daily?
I was about to say
in the United States of America.
So yes. So you're basically what you're saying is your question is, why do the loss of these families mean more than everyone else?
Right. Again, loss of life is tragic. But do you really expect the media to go to every single family of a loved one that was killed? That never happens. That can't ever happen because that's impossible. That's absolutely impossible. But what he's saying is that he described these undocumented immigrants, as people that will continually do bad things. Now, he's not just saying that the certain people that have committed these heinous acts and have killed these people, the loved ones that are standing up on that stage. He's not talking about those certain people. He's talking about every single undocumented immigrant. He's talking about every single migrant that comes across this border. Just like when he's talking about they're invading the country, he's trying to sell that to you.
Because these people have been caught.
Yes.
So who is he talking about? These people will continue, because just like everybody else, when someone who is undocumented commits a crime, what happens to them, Will? What happens to them?
They're pursued. They're captured. Prosecuted and sentenced. And
most likely, in some cases, they are.
Yeah, they may do their time here,
but after they get
they get out. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. So how are they continuing to wreak havoc and pose danger to Americans?
Well, see, okay,
because he's, like you said, he's not talking about them specifically. He's trying to cast that net and fear onto every undocumented, and you know what? And from what we have seen, even people who are here illegally, we've seen people who are here illegally get harassed, and we'll get to that later.
Right.
But we've been people who are here illegally who've been harassed. So
the thing of that, I guess what he's trying to sell, and that some of these families he's trying to sell too, is that the tragedy that happened upon them, some of these people, these undocumented immigrants, they already had crimes against them. They either had done something. Maybe they were, maybe one. I think one was had a DUI, or maybe even a couple DUIs before he actually killed a family member. So look. Like I said, the loss of life is tragic. It doesn't matter who it relates to. It doesn't matter if it's a citizen or non-citizen committing these acts. But I have a problem with this whole... I don't have a problem with the spectacle. I have a problem with Trump's words, because he's acting like this is a bigger threat than it actually is.
Really, you think so?
Yeah, because people that are here illegally, undocumented immigrants, they commit crimes far less, at a far less rate than actual citizens.
The statistics validate your point.
So again, it's a problem. It's a problem.
You know what this was about, man. You know what this was about. We know what the topic of discussion is right now, and that's how this administration is. However you look at it. If you're looking at a continuation of the mistreatment of undocumented, or you can look at it as the increased mistreatment. However you want to look at it, that is kind of the hot button topic right now. So having a ceremony right now seems very, very convenient. And it doesn't seem like a ceremony to honor the victims, but more like, I would call it a gaslighting ceremony.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's using these families as pawns. You know what I'm saying? Take their personal tragedy and offer it as cover for how they are currently treating undocumented human beings right now. Because the message is clear here.
You heard his words.
We're justified in the way we treat undocumented immigrants because, hey, some of them here and there do bad things. So kind of you know, it doesn't really matter what we do to them, right? You know what I'm saying? You see what kind of harm these undocumented immigrants are causing? You see this? Yeah. So I think there's a...
Like you said, we're justified in the inhumane way that we are treating them.
Yeah.
And the language that he used.
Oh, these are the American citizens that were permanently separated from their families. And what's the point of using that term if it is not to offer some sort of equivocation?
That's exactly right. He said the word permanently being the word you have to think about. Permanently. Why would you say that if you weren't trying to connect this to children that are being taken from their parents when they're migrating into the U.S.? Why would you do that?
It's the good-for-nothing undocumented immigrants that are really separating children or loved ones from their families. So, I mean, Americans are the real victims here.
And then he also said, like, you know, for like 1 or 2 days, these families aren't being separated for a couple of days. There was another woman that lost their loved one to violence from an undocumented immigrant. She said, as everyone standing up here, none of our kids had a minute to say goodbye. We weren't lucky enough to be separated for 5 days or 10 days. We're separated permanently. Again, feel your pain. Definitely feel your pain. But stop with the false equivalency. These children, first of all, these children aren't being separated for a couple days, okay? As we have noted, many of them have not been returned to their parents. It's been weeks. It's been weeks. It's been months. So stop trying to sell the idea that it's like it's like a small hassle right now. It's not a small hassle. It's not as bad as losing your child. But why are you comparing the two?
It seems like that's like a subconscious expression of guilt to me.
It does.
Even if they don't want to admit it, that seems like that's what that is. And it almost seems like they're trying to do this kind of transference of sympathy. So they're trying to, I guess, hope that the public sympathizes with these families, and as a result, sympathize with this administration for what they're doing to undocumented human beings. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let's arrange this ceremony, you know, and get Americans, get their sympathy on their side, and in turn get their sympathies on our side too. So they'll understand, hey, this is why we're doing what we're doing. This is why we are treating people so bad.
So inhumanely.
Yeah, no. But this to me, this is a White House public relations event.
Yeah, it was.
Because they're trying to scratch to try to, you know, I guess, divert attention away from the massive globs of feces that are on their shoes right now, because they're stepping in it. But they're trying to do anything that they can to kind of divert attention away from that.
What I want to know is, I understand that these families are feeling pain. I even understand that these families have come together and they're trying to address the problem. You know, even with immigration, even with undocumented immigrants, because, okay, yes, some of them are violent, no doubt. Sometimes there are cracks in the system too, and some of them who don't need to be let out of jail or don't need to still be here. It's a problem. No doubt it's a problem. All right. So I have no problem with them coming together. I have no problem with them trying to draw awareness and saying, hey, we do have to do something about our criminal justice, our criminal justice system and our immigration policy. But I want to know when is going to be the White House event for victims of police brutality. I want to know when President Donald Trump is going to talk about Deontay Yarber or Stephon Clark or Antoine Rose. When is he going to hold a ceremony, some type of event for these individuals, these black individuals that were killed under his presidency at the hands of law enforcement? Is he going to hold an event for them?
That was rhetorical, right?
Nah, man, these are families that lost their loved ones, man.
That was rhetorical, right?
This is a serious problem. Our criminal justice system is a problem. So I mean, because actually that's what Trump is bringing awareness to.
Exactly, our criminal justice system, such as the FBI. You would think that would be top on his list, right?
I want to know when the
highlight instances where law enforcement has negatively impacted the lives of Americans.
Yeah, so you can actually do something about it, right? Also, on just a last note, just like you were saying, this was like a PR event. Like a photo op.
Oh, no doubt, man. You know that was, especially because of the timing of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just because of the timing, and there's a little bit more evidence that this was like a photo op. This was really about Donald Trump himself, and this wasn't really about these families that were on the stage. So the pictures, these families, you know, I believe it was most of them, if not all of them. I believe there was one woman that was holding a picture that she didn't actually talk. She said that it was too painful. She didn't want to talk. But most of them did, and they shared the stories of their loved ones, and they just said something, you know. And they were all holding pictures of their loved one. Take a look at a couple of these pictures. There's a signature on it. That's Donald Trump's signature, the president's signature. On the picture of somebody that died. The families are holding these pictures, and Donald Trump signed the pictures like it's a baseball card or something. Why would he do that? Why would he do that?
Hey, man. He's unconventional. You know? They say about him, he gets things done differently. He does things differently. He tries to send a different message, man. He's unconventional, man. Don't question it, man.
He couldn't pass an opportunity to make this about him. He signed the pictures of victims.
Yo, it looks like you said, like a baseball card, or like almost like an album cover.
Yeah, like these aren't recording artists. These are people that died. This is an event for them, for the families to say something about their loved ones that died. And I mean, they want something done. We can disagree or agree with what they want done, but they're there because of their loved ones that died. Donald Trump makes it about him by signing their pictures. Man, I just don't understand who does that, man. Unconventional or not.
I know somebody who does that is Donald Trump, and he does that because he likes to kind of exploit.
That's it.
He likes to exploit where people's weaknesses are. That's what he does, man.
That's it, man. That's the only reasonable explanation. And that again, I understand these families' pain, but how could your motives be pure if you're allowing him to just sign that picture like that? I don't know, man. I don't know.
Are we even questioning whether his motives are pure or not?
I'm saying because we know that,
because that's just one element.
But maybe they think it is because they were all thanking him. Oh, y'all, him and VP Mike Pence. They're like, oh, y'all, you've given us so much support, and they just had a lot of praise and words toward them.
I think most people would be like that, especially if they were emotionally vulnerable.
But why the hell are you signing the picture? That's what I think the reasonable response would be like, hell no, you're not. Why the hell would you sign it? Nah, hold on.
That's the thing. Like, I think they're, I guess, uber aware that they're on camera. Mm-hmm. And so maybe whatever feelings they're having about it, or whatever negative feelings they have about him doing that, they're most likely not going to display those feelings outwardly, expressively. Doesn't
it cheapen it?
No, it definitely cheapens it. And whatever, they felt afterwards or during that, it was probably off camera or inside. So they're not going to express that. We're not going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that because they understand it's a ceremony. People put the face on during a ceremony. So whatever kind of, disposition they had about what he did and what he signing it, putting his signature on, is probably not going to be shown.
All right. All right, let's get to Brock Turner 2.0. Man.
Oh, get upgrade.
All right. So on Thursday in Wisconsin, Dane County Circuit Judge Stephen Elke sentenced Alec Cook, 22 of Minnesota, to 3 years in prison for raping 3 women. Cook was also sentenced to 8 years of extended supervision once he's released from prison. Cook pleaded to he pleaded guilty to the 3 counts of third-degree sexual assault charges in February. He also pleaded guilty to 1 count each of strangulation and stalking.
And those are that's what he pleaded to.
That's what he pleaded.
That's
to.
what it pleaded to originally. He faced 23 charges,
yes,
and which included 11 different women. Well, strangulation of 11 different women,
right,
and stalking. Sorry,
right. So, prosecutors were seeking 19 years behind bars. I believe he was actually, the maximum sentence was like 40 years, I believe.
Yeah.
He could have.
So they were seeking half.
Yeah, less than half. A little bit less than half.
Just a little tad under half.
A little bit less. They were seeking 19 years. So defense attorneys were seeking probation.
No, probation with the possibility of jail time.
With the possibility of jail time.
Possibility, in quotes.
Yeah, but preferably probation.
His attorneys.
Yeah. So he was all. So in I guess in an official, I guess an official way of saying it, he was sentenced to 3 years for each victim, but he's gonna serve the sentence concurrently. So it's just gonna be a total of 3 years.
So that's like an average of 1 year per victim, and this was third degree sexual assault.
Third degree sexual.
And then that again, and on top of that, he pleaded to 2 other counts of stalking and strangulation.
Right. On
top of those 2,
mm-hmm.
So technically, it's like he's getting maybe 7 months per charge. That he pleaded to. He pleaded to those charges.
He was facing other charges.
He faced other charges, but they just pleaded down. They were dismissed because he went ahead and pled to the most notable charges.
Right. And so when I'm reading this, of course, we're thinking this is absolutely a case of injustice. There's no way that this particular individual that raped at least 3 women could be only served, or he's only going to serve 3 years in prison for these heinous crimes, for these vile attacks, these disgusting, violent attacks.
Okay, so what do we go to next? What do we have to look at now? We have to look at the reasoning behind such a lenient sentence, or the opinion or justification given, right,
from the judge.
I mean, that would kind of make us understand, right?
Yes. So let's get to his words. Judge Stephen Elke said, "What I want them to know," and what he's saying there, what I want them to know, he's talking about the victims. He said that, you know what, and let's bring this back. Elke said that he had to give Cook credit for having no criminal record, no bail violations, and for taking a plea and not taking this thing to trial. So he said that he hoped that the end of these criminal proceedings against Cook would give closure to the victims. So this is also what he had to say. What I want them to know is I listened to those voices very carefully. I want them to know that it's okay if they didn't agree with me on some of the motions that have been referred to. What I do want them to know is I tried my level best in this case and every case that I have before me to be fair to everyone.
If that is the case, and he was looking at the sentence he was given to this rapist as some form of closure, right? Mm-hmm. If this whole process of sentencing was based on closure for the victims, how come he wasn't listening to what the victims wanted in this particular case?
Because he wanted to be fair.
Because according to interviews that the victims gave to Teen Vogue, they wanted this dude, I'm not even going to say his name, they wanted this dude to get the max.
Which would have been 40.
Which would have been 40.
Prosecutors, again, were seeking 19.
19. So they were seeking half of that, and he got a sixth of that. So he got a sixth of half of the max. If it was about giving the victims closure, why was it pled down so much? And then why was the sentence so light?
Look, I understand the whole mercy thing in court because there are many people throughout the country that do deserve mercy. By the words of this judge saying that he had to give him credit because he had no criminal record. I don't take that into account, and I don't think the judge should have taken that into account because this dude, it wasn't just one rape that this dude executed. It was at least 3 that he was actually convicted of. There were other sexual assault. There were other charges as well.
And yeah, not only that, like and that was only counting the women that came forward. Investigators actually suggested that there were more victims.
So you telling me, as the judge, you have to give this dude credit for not being captured before?
Yes.
Before this?
See, yeah, technically, that's true. He didn't have a criminal record, but in actuality, that's not true. He didn't have a criminal record as far as like official convictions.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I'm saying?
The police hadn't picked him up and been I guess.
Yeah, but he definitely had a record of criminality.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like if I burglarize 20 homes, right? But I only get caught red-handed on the 21st time. Like, is the judge going to just ignore those previous 20, even though that, let's say there's evidence that has tied me to those other 20, and investigators are now tying me in the process of officially like putting me in responsibility, giving me responsibility for those other ones. So I, as a judge, am I going to act like, hey, that 21st offense is kind of your first offense, even though you've done it 20 times? You just didn't get caught those first 20 times?
It's ridiculous.
That doesn't even make sense.
I believe the Unabomber didn't have a criminal past. I don't think he had a criminal past. Is he ever seen the light of day again? No. A lot of these school shootings, do you think they're going to be let out eventually? No.
I mean, it was their first offense.
It was their first offense. You can't take, like, first of all, you have to assess like the level of the assault, the level of the crime, the level of it, and how much this individual has done it. And exactly.
How many people he's done it to. In this case, it was originally 23 charges.
But even if you strike those away and say that it only came down to these 3 cases, that's still three cases.
So you can't say actually a first offense because there are a bunch of offenses within this one case. So he's like, this judge is considering all of these as one. That's kind of what he's telling me. He's considering all these instances of sexual assault and stalking and strangulation, even if it happened to 20, 30, or 40 women. Since this is his first time in court, all of those represent one instance.
He went on to say that Judge Elke, he went on to say that per Wisconsin law, that it requires the court to impose a minimum sentence to hold a defendant accountable. I guess if they don't have that criminal past, if this is like their first offense. Again,
like the spirit of the law is that doesn't apply here because there are countless offenses he was being charged with.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't apply here. It may have been his first appearance for a court proceeding, but that doesn't mean that was his first offense. I just don't understand how it can be interpreted that way.
He said a prison sentence is also uncommon in a case of this kind for a defendant that does not have a criminal past. A brutal, violent crime like this is uncommon to sentence a defendant to prison? Like, if that's actually what's common in Minnesota, or if that's actually on the books in Minnesota, like law, then my gosh, you have got to do something about the criminal law in did I say Minnesota?
Said Wisconsin.
Okay.
You may have said it.
Yeah, I might have said Minnesota, but yeah, if that's actually what's on the books in Wisconsin, then something has got to be done. Because a violent crime like rape, nobody should ever just get off. This dude did it not once, not twice, but at least three times.
Do you think it was really he was citing some sort of precedent that has been set, or is it just that he is purposefully misinterpreting a law in order to give a lenient sentence in this case? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you think he's purposely misinterpreting some precedent that has been set?
We don't live in Wisconsin. I'm not up on Wisconsin law or what what's common there when it comes to cases of rape. But I just can't figure that that's actually normal. And of course, this harkens us back to Brock Turner, who was sentenced to 6 months in jail it was Judge Aaron Persky, and he ultimately only served 3 months in jail for that because he raped an unconscious woman. And Aaron Persky, he felt the brunt of all of that heat, all of that controversy, because it was just this past year. Well, no, it was just earlier this year, just a few weeks ago, that he was actually recalled from his spot on the bench because the constituency was not happy with his actions. So,
and I think in this case, the person who is guilty of the charges, who committed all these acts, is much worse than that.
He's worse because I don't think. Well, like first of all, both of them did not have a official criminal record, but as far as anybody could tell, Brock Turner only committed that one act. This dude, Alec Cook, he's been at it for a while. For
2 years.
Yeah.
Between 2014 and 2016?
That's right. Violated multiple women. You're telling me that deserves only 3 years? Man, that's this. Let him know how you feel. And if you can recall him too, I'll be just fine with that as well. I hope there is an effort just like there was in California with Persky. All right. Let's see.
You want to get to the Canadian jogger, or
let's get to the budget? Yeah, because
let's get to the budget.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, those are kind of side stories.
Yeah, we can get to that in a little bit. Yeah. All right. So this really hasn't gotten a lot of coverage, and noticeably because it's what's relevant right now is the whole thing about immigration and family separations and immigration law, and even now today on Tuesday with the Supreme Court ruling of the whole Muslim ban being ruled constitutional. This is taking a back seat to all of that news coverage. But on Thursday, the House Budget Committee approved a budget resolution for the 2019 fiscal year. The resolution creates a path to balance the budget over a 10-year period and seeks $8.1 trillion in deficit reduction measures to reach that goal. Now, I know what you're all thinking. I know what Mike's thinking. You're thinking that Congress approved
military.
Cuts to the military.
That's
cuts to corporate spending, or not corporate spending, but corporate welfare. Maybe cuts to financial aid to foreign countries, especially countries that may be
Israel,
in violation of
Saudi Arabia,
violation of international law. Saudi Arabia, guilty of human rights abuses, guilty of murdering innocent civilians. So, I'm sure most of you think that's what Congress agreed to, but sadly, you'd be mistaken. That's not the route that they went.
Yeah, I think as soon as we started reading about this plan or this resolution about a $8.1 trillion deficit reduction, I think you already had in your head, before you even got down to the rest of the article, what would be on the list to be reduced.
I'm sure everybody has
a realistic idea.
So this is per the Hill. The proposed mandatory reduction includes $1.5 trillion from Medicaid, $537 billion from Medicare, and $2.6 trillion in reductions to other programs such as welfare, nutritional assistance, and other anti-poverty programs.
I mean, so pretty much this has always been like a brainchild of the Republicans.
Yep.
And specifically, it's been top priority since they passed the Tax Cutting Job Act.
No doubt. What's the House Speaker, Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, has talked about it forever. And since that tax cut had passed, he said, yep, you know, what we got to turn our attention to now is these entitlement spending programs.
Why you mad at them for balancing the budget, man? They just trying to balance the budget. That's what they're trying to do, man.
Yeah. Like I said, we spend so much money on the military that it's disgusting. It's insane. It's downright just objectionable. But instead of doing anything about that, Trump now wants to form a sixth branch of the military. The Space Force, I believe he called it, the Space Force. Even though we already have, a program like that under the Air Force, what he says kind of makes it seem like he wants actual people patrolling in space with weapons.
Because he did use the word dominance.
Yes, he did. So that seems like the military's budget is going to expand because of something like that. But what we're gonna have to do to kind of balance that out,
let's balance the budget.
Because we're gonna spend more on the military. We just got no choice because we have to be dominant in space. So how we're gonna kind of balance that all out and take from this area to give to this area? We're just gonna hit poor people.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it, man. Gotta do it.
Yeah, it's the whole disingenuousness of it all is quite infuriating, man. I mean, you improve massive tax cuts for corporations and billionaires, then you take away programs that benefit the poor and middle class. Mm-hmm. Then you blame the cuts you had to make on those programs on the deficit, which you blew a massive hole in.
Yeah, like the deficit has been increasing.
Well, the Tax Cutting Job Act.
Yeah, that's
created like probably a record-breaking deficit over the next decade.
That's what I'm saying. But it's not just the. Hold on, no. It's not because of these like Medicaid programs or Medicare programs or like SNAP programs, welfare programs. That's not what's killing the budget. Okay, that's not what's killing or like what's burning a hole in the deficit, like just increasing the deficit. It's because of all this other stuff that Republicans and Democrats do. It's because of defense spending. It's because of tax cuts, like the one that was just passed, like 7 months ago.
But I mean,
how do you further exacerbate the deficit?
But wait, you
trillions.
You mentioned the Tax Cutting Job Act. Okay, so we can talk about the middle class. Does the middle class actually really need Medicare and Social Security? I mean, aren't we getting an extra $1.50 per week? Remember that? Remember that when Paul Ryan tweeted that? I think it was a teacher who said, "Yeah, I noticed an extra $1.50 on her paycheck," and then Paul Ryan. Just, I guess he was he tweeted like, "See, now you can start planning for your future." But he actually ended up deleted the tweet.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
because it was very insensitive.
Wait. Let's give him credit for maybe some other advice he offered about that $1.50. Mm-hmm. He not only said we can start to plan for our future.
I know where you're going.
He said we might even be able to afford a Costco membership.
What?
Yeah.
I get a Costco membership?
Oh, snap, dog.
What? I always wanted one. This is laughable, but man, it's no joke whatsoever. Again, these entitlement programs, they are not what is being so detrimental to the deficit. It's the Republicans that are in office right now. It's the Democrats that are in office right now, because both of them do the same damn things.
Mm-hmm. They just say the phrase "balance the budget," and what they really mean is destroy social safety nets.
That's all it is. And this administration right now, with Congress, of course, because Congress had a vote on it, they voted on the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that will, again, it will do so much harm, so much damage to the budget. And, well, for at least the next 10 years. And going forward, even more. I think it's like almost $2 trillion that it will add to the deficit. So in the face of that, you Republicans, you're the ones that passed this Tax Cut and Jobs Act with so much enthusiasm. And in the face of that, you're like, whoa, okay, man, we did such a good thing for the middle class and for the corporations. Yeah, so you know what? Now we're going to screw all the poor people over. Like, how's that going to balance itself out? The people that rely on Medicaid and the people that rely on Medicare. Like you said, they're getting $1.50 extra. Is that gonna
a whole $1.50?
A whole, like, okay, so I was here, right? I wasn't making $1.50 more, but I had my Medicaid and I had my Medicare, right? I'm making more, but they might be gone.
So you started from the bottom and you still there.
My bad. I did like this.
I should have
did that.
Yeah, you started from the bottom and you still there. But I mean, are they doing something we didn't know they were going to do? You know what I'm saying?
Because they had, look, they told everybody that they were.
I was about to say they told everybody. Yeah. They pretty much actually said it out loud.
Out loud. If you weren't paying attention, it's not their fault.
Yeah, it's definitely not their fault because they're just kind of rinse, wash, and repeat. It's a simple process.
You know,
it's a simple process. What do? They give tax cuts to their donors.
Mm-hmm.
Then they complain about deficits,
mm-hmm.
and then they unload the cost on everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a simple process.
But I got a question.
Oh, what's your question, bro? What's your question?
Medicare, Medicaid,
right.
SNAP,
right.
nutritional program.
Yeah.
Do only Democrats have those things?
Yes. I know that's a straightforward question, but I'm going to be dumb right now and say yes.
Because
only Democratic voters benefit from those things.
Because there were a lot of Republicans that were hailing this Tax Cut and Jobs Act as something that was fantastic. It was something that was being done for them, the middle class and the poor Republicans. And now...
Oh, you know what? See, what they're doing is they're playing into the ignorance of their base. Because I think you've seen this just kind of permeate across the political spectrum as far as who are the makers and takers are. And for some reason, there's a political constituency that thinks they are all like the hardest working people. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think they recognize that they're going to lose something because, I guess the politicians that kind of they support make them feel bigger than what they actually are. So they don't think they're going to be affected by this. They think they're rich too. Or they think they're going to be kind of inducted into these kind of rich tax brackets because all these, there's all this winning that's going to happen under the Trump administration.
Yep. I got a phrase for that though.
What?
I got a phrase for that. The exact thing you were talking about, like the people that think good times are coming.
Oh yeah. Wait. Is it a 4-word phrase?
Yeah, it's like 4 words. We actually put on a T-shirt.
Yes, we did.
The pain is coming. Yeah, the pain is coming. Pain is coming. Evidence right here. Huh.
Maybe they can cover those gaps that they're having with Medicare and their Social Security. They can easily cover those gaps with that extra $1.50.
You know what they can do?
A week, $1.50 a week.
You know what they can do?
Forgot to clarify that.
They can sell their Costco membership for cash. And I'm sure that will make up any difference.
Oh, it'll allow them to pay for their medication?
Yeah, because the Costco membership is so, it's it's a privilege to have, and it's so expensive, you know? They could probably cash that in, get some treatment.
This might open up like a Costco membership black market on the low, man. You might have to watch that.
All right, okay. All right, let's move on, man. All right, we want to get to either Permit Patty or that other bigot, man.
Hold up. Oh, the other bigot. Oh, nah, we gotta do
You want to do Permit Patty?
I think the other one is kind of like a real short one.
Yeah.
So we can do that one. It does kind of tie to what we were talking about earlier about kind of Trump's rhetoric and how it does affect how people approach and how people perceive not just undocumented people, undocumented humans, just humans that are not from this country in general.
Or maybe they are from this country, but they look a certain way.
That's probably a better description of it.
Yeah. So in California, this was near Running Springs, California, San Bernardino County. A man by the name of Esteban Guzman was working outside with his mom when a racist white woman started harassing him. Esteban Guzman told the Washington Post that he and his mother had just finished cleaning the inside of a client's house and had strapped on a leaf blower when a woman that was across the street came over to start harassing them, to start just yelling and cursing at them, right? So he thought it might have been because of them blowing pine needles around, but if that was the case, it would have been a neighbor that was actually connected to the property that they were working on. This woman came from across the street. So it definitely couldn't have been about the pine needles, right? But anyway, she didn't say anything about the pine needles at first. So there's a little bit of video from this. So we'll show you the little bit.
I don't know why you hate us. Why do you hate us? Because we're Mexicans? Yeah. We're honest people right here.
Yeah, rapists.
Rapists? How many people have I raped? How many drugs have I dealt? Huh? Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You believe everything you see on the news?
Yeah.
You see how we're working hard right here?
What you're doing? You're also pulling it in everybody else's yard.
No, dígale, ella está viendo, dígale.
Look, here.
Dígale, ya vio que acabamos.
Come here, little boy.
No.
Come here, little boy.
Dígale, dígale, ¿tuviste?
Yeah.
Whoa. See, I saw the video, but I guess I stopped it probably like 15 seconds before it was over because I just couldn't watch it no more. I just seen enough. I didn't see that little part where she was like,
"Come here, little boy.
Come here, little boy." I didn't see that part.
So if you couldn't make out everything that was being said, Guzman was asking, "Why do you hate us?" She said, "Because you're Mexican." He said, "Because we're Mexicans?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "We're honest people right here." She laughed and haha. She said, "Yeah, rapists." He said, "Rapists?" She said, "Animals, drug dealers." He asked, "How many drugs have I dealt?" She said, "Even the president of the United States says you're a rapist." So the kind of language that she was using there, it's very familiar.
Very familiar. You're rapists.
Drug dealers.
Yeah.
Animals.
So, but the irony in all this is that this woman walked up to this man while he was working.
While he was working, not raping.
Working.
Not drug dealing.
Not drug dealing.
He was working. Yeah. But she just
since when do
had a problem.
he was doing it. Since when do animals just operate leaf blowers during the day and try to make a living?
Since that day. on Saturday. I believe it was this past Saturday.
I mean, I like the thing is,
Animals
I'm not
got
surprised, and of course, you know, these people existed before Trump. We're not denying that, but we do have to acknowledge that there's a group of people that feel empowered by Trump.
Right.
You know
That's the whole thing, man.
And it's not a coincidence that she's using the very words that he is using. I actually saw a segment on CNN where they were interviewing Trump supporters at some restaurant or some sort of gathering, and that same kind of stuff was coming out of their mouth. They were like, oh, we got to keep these people out because, you know, they commit all the crime, they're rapists, they're murderers, and they're drug dealers. Trump is the only one that can do something about it. They were literally regurgitating that same stuff, and I guess the reporters on scene were asking these people, say, okay, what's the statistics? Like, do you have any facts to back that up? And they didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I'm saying it like it's something to be surprised about.
Well, again, man, we already knew that racism was prevalent in our society going back generations, and it's no different today. So it definitely preceded Donald Trump's administration. But again, just like Mike said, for the simple fact that she's using the same type of language that Donald Trump had used before, it seems like they feel, these type of people, they feel emboldened. They feel like they're encouraged to actually speak out and display their bigotry and their racism.
I think that's why it's important, you know, I guess, to not just talk about policy, but as far as the Trump administration or any administration, you know, it is important to deal with, like, I guess, situations as far as, you know, what an administration is doing on a policy level. I think that is very important, but policy never comes without something like ideological backing it up. It never comes with like some sort of, I guess, without an attitude that's backing it up. Like if we're looking at something like a corporate tax cut, what's the attitude that backs that up? Greed. So we're not going to discuss corporate tax cuts without discussing greed. So we can't discuss this administration, we can't discuss policy, which we always discuss, without discussing what type of attitudes accompany that policy and what type of attitudes I guess Donald Trump and this administration is giving life to. And I think sometimes people want to focus too much on policy, as if this type of rhetoric that comes from this administration and Trump doesn't actually affect people in their everyday lives, which we saw right here, which was illustrated perfectly right here. This dude is minding his own business, doing his work, and here we have some random lady walking up to him, calling him a rapist, a murderer, and a drug dealer. You don't think that, you know what I'm saying? There's people whose lives are actually affected by this. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't get the whole idea, let's just stick to policy, as if policy is not accompanied with attitudes and beliefs and ideas.
But it's kind of like, you know, because we see on social media that people are sticking up for Trump, saying that this is not Trump's fault. And it's kind of like they're saying that, like, Trump doesn't have any power now. Like the president, it's kind of like they're saying now that, well, the president doesn't influence people. And we know that to be very different than what's actual reality. The president of the United States, how does the president of the United States get elected? Most of the time it's because of celebrity. Most of the times it's because of their charisma, or, you know, how they engage with the public. They're influential figures.
I was waiting on the word.
Yeah.
I was waiting on that one word. I was waiting on something influential or influence. And
so they're influential figures, right? Everybody knows that. That's just the way it is. Now, when they influence something negative, now all of a sudden, it's not their fault. And again, we're not saying that they influenced or they created racism. We're not saying that Trump created the racism, but for the simple fact that this woman chose to use the same verbiage as Donald Trump, and the same reason where we see people like Aaron Schlossberg just trying to like say, well, I'm gonna call ICE, you know, just trying to harass civilians that are just going about their regular business. This is all coming out because of the Donald Trump presidency. So yeah, he didn't create racism, but he is helping people feel more comfortable with the racism, more comfortable expressing their racism in actual public.
I think we can, you know, do, I guess, do multiple things at once. Think about multiple things at the same time. We can discuss politics and policy and all that, and we can discuss attitudes. We can discuss ideology, essentially, because that's the basis of policy creation in the first place. So a lot of times people will make excuses about, oh, we just can't talk about these instances of bad people or bad politicians and what they say. Let's not pay attention to the rhetoric of Trump, because that's a distraction. Well, how about you ask this dude who got harassed during the day whether it's a distraction to him?
Exactly.
It's usually people who most likely won't be affected by the rhetoric who say talking about what he says is a distraction. Yes, I guess getting bogged down in it can be a distraction because he lies so much and he says so much. And obviously we can't devote this channel to talking about everything Trump and everything Trump says. Obviously not. But when you have people whose lives are affected by it, how can we not talk about it? And if you don't want to talk about it, that means you probably don't think your life is going to be affected by it.
He's influencing chaos. That's what it is.
Again,
that's
he's influencing chaos.
Yeah. But one more thing. Do have more patience than I.
Yeah.
At the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
She's sticking the middle finger up in his face.
Yeah.
Right in his face.
Yeah.
She's like right here.
Yeah, once you get that close to me, yo, I'm mushing you. I'm mushing you back I'm mushing you back with my hand in your face. I'm sorry. I'm putting my hands on you. If you're in my space, you're getting mushed.
Like,
I'm mushing you in the face.
I'm not saying that because I do understand the gender, like man, woman, and I'm not saying that I would just unload it on her, popped her right in the jaw. But
you would have
probably been some kind of
you would have
something.
You would have let's put this in a more delicate way. You would have physically assisted her in a different direction.
Oh yes. it would have been an assistance. Yeah.
You'd have been Heisman. You'd been like Heisman.
Yeah. Oh, you know how we used to do in the club.
Oh yeah, that's what me and Will used to do this in the club. You know what? It was, for the most part, it was always chicks who would be getting too close.
Yeah.
Dudes we didn't have to do that with. But like when chicks would get too close, we'd be like, yo, we just chilling, yo. Like, get away. We just
I mean, like, there'd be a whole bunch of room and all of a sudden people bumping into you.
A whole bunch of floor over there. Like, don't you see that dance floor over? There's all this dance floor over there. We just chilling. Why are you dancing so close to us?
Put up the shoulders, like, and it would have been something like that. But it would have been a physical removal of my area.
So first it would have been club status. Like, all right, now
I might have had to turn to the side.
This is your zone. This is your bubble. This is my bubble. You get past that bubble. So if you would have gone past this, then it would have been like okay.
But anyway, I believe when the video stopped and when she was saying, come here, little boy, and things like that, I believe she was saying that, hey, you need to remove these pine needles up off of the neighbor's yard, the neighbor who is not her. That's not her yard. But she came over across the street insulting this dude and then was like, come here, little boy, get these pine needles off of this other neighbor's yard.
See, we can't even like get people to live in a world with people who look different than them.
Exactly.
We can't even make it to that. We still haven't made it to that step yet. We are still existing in an environment where there are tons of Americans who want to go back in time and or put certain people under kind of a more authority than themselves, meaning they want the government to put them under a certain type of authority that they wouldn't want the government to put them under. So that's the kind of world we live in right now, and that's a good illustration of that. Obviously there are tons of people who are not like that, and thank God for those people, but we have millions and millions of people who are carrying around this type of attitude. We can't even get to that level yet as far as people respecting each other as humans. How can we actually get to the next level as far as talking about politics in regards to like the Sheldon Adelsons of the world, or the Koch brothers of the world, or
Koch brothers.
I keep calling them Koch brothers because they be fucking everybody, bro. I can't help it.
But you know what? This
like
woman,
any kind of like any donor, man. Any donors out there, you know what I'm saying? Any big name donor. How can we actually like get people to see like who like these enemies are, these bigger enemies, if they can't even like treat their neighbors well?
And you know what? And this wasn't even what you're explaining. Neighbors. She had no idea who this dude was. It wasn't like she had some kind of past with him. She knew this was a bad guy or something. No. She just saw them across the street working.
These are the people,
and she decided to come over and say that, you know what? You look like you're not supposed to be here. You know, you're a rapist. You're a rapist. Yep, just like Trump said.
It's those people who are the problems, and, you know, they're the problem, not the Mercers, not, you know, the Mnuchins, not the Steve Bannons, you know what I'm saying? Not the Cox, Cokes.
These people with Mexican heritage that are working. Well, those are the real bad guys. Yeah. Blowing. Damn him for blowing pine needles around. Damn him.
Like I said, we can't even get to that next level if we can't even like operate on like this a basic level of humanity.
So, a white woman in San Francisco was caught on video allegedly calling the police because an 8-year-old black girl, was selling bottled water on the sidewalk outside her home without a permit. So she has been called Permit Patty on social media.
Yo, that sounds like
hashtag Permit Patty.
That actually sounds like a decent rap name, man.
Permit
like Project Pat.
I know. Yeah,
that's what it reminds me of.
But she's now been identified. She's been identified as Alison Ettel, and she owns a medical marijuana business. So again, this happened just this past weekend. So let's show you the video if you have not already seen it.
This woman don't want to let a little girl sell some water. She calling police on an 8-year-old little girl. You can hide all you want. The whole world gonna see you, boo.
Yeah, and illegally selling water without a permit? Yeah.
On my property.
It's not your property. You're on the
All right, so see that was just a very, very, very short video. So the woman, she has had a few interviews now. I believe she was interviewed by NBC News.
Huffington Post,
and she was interviewed by Huffington Post, but it was actually a video interview. She was actually a video interview by NBC News, I believe. But she says that she didn't actually call the police. Okay, she was just threatening, like she was pump faking or something like that. She was just acting like she was
just trying to like influence them to move.
Yes, that's what she was trying to do. And she also said that it actually wasn't about the little girl selling bottled water on the street. That had nothing to do with it. Her story goes as this. She was upstairs working from home. The window inside her place was open because it was a hot day. So she could hear, I believe she was saying the mother of the 8-year-old girl, she could hear her like yelling and screaming, trying to draw attention to themselves because they were trying to sell bottled water. And where they're at is close to the AT&T park, and there was a game, San Francisco Giants game, at the time.
Oh, wait, a baseball game.
There was a baseball game.
So again, so she was complaining about loudness from this little girl, but she lives close to a what?
Stadium, baseball stadium.
Professional baseball stadium.
That's right.
Okay, my bad. Go ahead.
But anyway, but these two, or at least the mother, was being so loud and obnoxious on the street that she was like, man, this has been going on. And I think she tried to alert building security, but building security was like, can't do nothing about it.
Wait. So wait a second. So the security personnel didn't feel the situation was that crucial, so they didn't go out.
Yeah.
So she felt it was her duty to be go gadget and save the day.
That's her story. But again, you're not telling the story right, okay? Because she said, again, it wasn't about the whole like selling of the water. It was about the mother being loud and obnoxious, and she actually never even approached the child. It was the mother. She was like, "Hey, you're being too loud, blah blah blah." And I guess when she refrained from,
that's the only right thing she did.
Well, she didn't refrain from being loud and obnoxious. That's when she got on the phone and acted like she was calling the police.
Okay. Let's just like kind of entertain that for a second, because like I'm pretty sure that there was some interaction between Permit Patty and the mother before she actually started recording.
She said there was screaming about what they were selling. It was literally nonstop. It was every 2 seconds. Come buy my water. It was continuous, and it wasn't a soft voice. It was screaming. Okay, then.
If that was the case, how come we didn't see her on camera address that? She had multiple occasions, multiple times to address that to the mother. All we heard was, "You're selling water without a permit."
Yeah.
Like, that's all we heard. That's all she kept saying. If it was really about the loudness, she would have most likely mentioned it again, knowing that she was being recorded, if that was the primary motive.
And she wouldn't have been hiding.
Why
were you hiding? Like, if you thought you were in the right here, and all you were trying to do was to get this woman to stop being so loud and obnoxious, why, when you saw the video, when you saw the woman holding up a cell phone recording you, why did you hide? That's like a guilty conscience. That's what it seems like to me.
Oh, that's a guilty conscience. And
it's like she had to create something else. Like, no permit.
Exactly. I think you just hit the nail on the head, man. She had to create something else in the moment. She thought on her feet. But yeah, I think just from the interviews that I watched and from her comments, this situation does seem a bit scary for her. No, it does seem a bit scary for her. Not for the reasons she thinks, though. Because most people's fuck ups aren't recorded.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Most people aren't confronted face to face with who they are, like, to the whole world. Like,
right.
most of us, we just go through that in general in our lives, just by ourselves, and we have to,
There's no reminders.
No reminders. So,
but that's it.
That's it. So we don't have to kind of have a come to Jesus moment, like, in front of everybody. Or we don't just, I wouldn't say come to Jesus, but let's come to ourselves.
Right.
Because she has to confront her bad behavior. And that's scary, especially if you have to do that publicly. So yes, she has to, I guess, apologize to, like, appease the public. But I still don't think she was ready to take responsibility just by some of the stuff she was saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because she did apologize, but the things that she said in her apology were like, it was okay. So she said, I have no problem with enterprising young women. I want to support that little girl. It was all the mother and just about being quiet. She also said it was stupid. I completely regret that I handled that so poorly. It was completely stress related and I should have never confronted her. That was a mistake, a complete mistake. Please don't make me sound horrible.
Oh, you see that last part right there. That last part, what did she do?
Don't make me sound horrible.
She made it about her. I'm like, bitch.
She also said she felt like...
You made yourself sound horrible.
She also said that she felt like she was being discriminated against with all the backlash.
See, that's what tells me. That's what tells me she fully hadn't accepted responsibility. Because those are the two, like, most chosen forms of denial. First, she, like, recontextualizes the entire event, right? To kind of excuse her behavior. You know what I'm saying? Then she, like, makes up another motive behind why she came out there to excuse her behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, just to make her behavior not seem as bad. And then, what does she do? She does the whole gaslighting thing. Now, she's pining for sympathy. She's getting death threats and she's discriminated against. So that tells me she really ain't fully sorry, because she was more or less using this opportunity to kind of build a bubble of sympathy around herself.
Yeah, this was all about another case where, sad to say, I mean, it's a white person that wants to threaten another black person. In this case, I don't believe she did call the police, but she was trying to make them feel like her authority or her power. Like, hey, what you're doing here, I don't like. I'm gonna get the police involved. So it's trying to make them feel fear, trying to make them scared of the police that may come to this situation. It's like, stop whatever you're doing. It's illegal. You can't do it. It wasn't about the mother screaming, because again, like Mike said, the building security didn't feel like it was a problem. They didn't do anything about it. You just crafted that because you know how it looked. You knew immediately how it looked. That's why you started hiding behind the steps. So in a response to all of this, or I guess the result of all of this, again, like I said, she does have that marijuana, or that medical marijuana business. I believe it's called, I forgot what it's called. Treatwell. That's what it's called. It's called Treatwell.
That's for like animals though. Like,
yeah.
dogs.
Marijuana for, but it's not, it's not like the marijuana like you're gonna get high or anything like that. They sell tinctures, and it can treat different things. But it's not just for animals as well. They, humans can use it as well. But seems like her business is suffering now. So I believe there are at least 6 dispensaries that have cut off all contact with her. They severed their business relationship with her. So this is businesses like, I believe there's one business, Magnolia Oakland, major dispensary, the BPG, the Apothecarium, and I guess there's at least 3 others that have said her conduct is objectionable. We're not gonna associate ourselves with bigots. So seems like she, I don't know how thriving her business was. I have no idea, but she has been featured in some noteworthy like publications. She's had some speaking engagements. Seems like her business is doing pretty well until you get outed.
Yeah, because
until you get outed.
Again, she took it upon herself to put herself in that situation. She saw Barbecue Becky in action and thought to herself, okay, not bad.
I can do better.
Hold my beer. I'm gonna outdo this chick.
Oh man, sad story, man.
Like, imagine how empty your life must be, or how problemless your life is, to want to raise a stink about somebody else selling water without having a permit. Like, imagine how empty your life is of problems. You know what I'm saying? Actual concerns, actual problems. For you to be so bent out of shape about somebody selling water without a permit.
And there have been people that have pointed out the contradiction as well, because she threatened to call the police, or pretended like she was calling the police on this little girl that was selling bottled water without a permit. But she has had this medical marijuana business for a number of years, and it wasn't just till recently that California had made marijuana legal in the state. So she was operating, some would say, without a permit.
But was she being allowed though?
Oh, she was operating quietly. That's the difference. Man. But the whole point to where the little girl and the mother, they were selling this bottled water, it was for a trip to Disney World, or was it Disneyland? They are in California, I believe. Could have been Disneyland. One would probably, I would think it's Disneyland, but it's either Disneyland or Disney World. I would think it's Disneyland. But they were trying to, get some revenue, get some money to go to Disney World. So it was announced just recently that they got 4 tickets to go to Disneyland, probably. So that's a good, good result, good end to this story. I believe Alison Ettel, she has said that she would apologize to them, or that maybe she wants to, but I believe it's been reported that the mother and the girl would not accept that apology. So there you go.
Somebody saying Cortez won.
Cortez who? Cortez and where?
I forgot what state it said. What
the L train, man. Yo, none of this would be happening if she just smoked from her own supply and just chill. The notorious words, right? Of B.I.G.
Wow, that's funny, dog.
But he said, don't ever, consume your own,
Never get high from your own supply.
Yeah.
But in her case, it would have worked. Oh, yeah, they
would've.
talking about New York House District 14 Democratic primary. Alexandra.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Look, man, I really wanted her to win. I don't know that I thought she was going to.
Yo, I know. I didn't think she was going to do it by that much either.
Nah,
that's
man.
a lot, man.
That's a lot. The difference of what, like almost 4,000 votes?
4,000 votes.
It's already been called.
Yeah, because 87% of the precincts reporting, evidently there's not even enough votes left for him to make up in whatever districts that are remaining.
That's what's up, man. That's real good, man. Any word on Nixon?
You know what? I think I passed it.
And Crowley was the incumbent, man. Wow. She did challenge him to his left. I'm surprised. I'm surprised, man. I'm really surprised. That's very good news, but I am surprised. I didn't know how, of course I'm not in New York, I didn't know how far a message was reaching, Wow. All right. Let's look up some primary races, man. Let's see.
Why does it autocomplete 2016 when I type?
Bear with us 1 second. We're going to look at some of these. Let's see. Carolina, hold on. Ain't doing nothing. All right, you know what? Let's open this thing up for calls so that we don't have any of this dead air space while we're trying to look up some results. So we would love for our audience to call in and give us some feedback. Give us your take on some of these issues that we've been discussing, maybe some other things that are on your mind. The number to call in is 669-900-6833. Please do call in, all of you. I want to see like 80 numbers in here, man. Not psych, we couldn't even handle any of that. But anyway, let's set this up here. That's, like I said, man, I don't know if I saw that coming. I know she had a very big social media campaign online. I've been following her, been sharing some of her posts and some of her videos.
What the?
All right. Anybody else got any breaking news? The TYT election coverage called it for Alexandria. All right, yeah. Nothing about anybody else. Moose Guy said that Ben Jealous is leading in Maryland Democratic primary. All right, so let's set this up real quick. All right, I think we already got somebody waiting to call to talk to us. See, just like that, it don't work.
I mean, it worked last week easily.
All right, there we go. I think. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Yep. All right. All right, so we got a caller on the line. Let's get to the caller, get them on the line so we can hear their take. 443 What's going on, caller? What's going on? You're on the air live with LTMB.
What's going on,
Court?
bro?
Good to hear from you, man. Hold up, Court. Hold up, Court. I don't think they can hear you yet. Hold on one second. Let me is that me? Okay, hold on. Let me fix this real quick. Cause yeah, your audio. All right, I think you're able to be heard now. All right, go ahead.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check.
Yes. Seems like you're okay now.
So I want to talk about the incident with Kirsten Nielsen, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and Stephen Miller when they went out and they got heckled out of the restaurant. I talked about it on Thursday, but I didn't expect Maxine Waters to get up there and say to encourage it, which I'm glad she did. I know a lot of people would find that statement controversial, but she didn't call for violence. She basically called for people to express their opinions about an ideology that has infected our society to the point now where you can't ballyhoo people locking children in concentration camps. Like, how does that even sound? You can't talk bad about people locking children in concentration camps. That's how bad it's gotten. So yeah, I think they should be heckled out of places to eat. I really do. I think they should be called out in their neighborhoods. I mean, what they're trying to do is despicable. They're trying to set people up as second-class citizens, and they're going to use it as an excuse to start some crazy, violent, awful shit. And they're going to use it so they can be jingoistic and they can keep people dumb and satisfied by all the violent entertainment. I mean, these people are willing to start a civil war in this country for ratings. You know that's what Donald Trump thinks. This guy is there's no objective argument you can give me that doesn't say this guy isn't the worst president in history. The only reason why he's not being impeached is because the government is crooked right now. It's full of his own party. And then you have Democrats that are telling Maxine Waters to sit down and shut up while Trump calls for violence against American citizens. You know,
yeah,
I mean,
Pelosi.
It's utterly preposterous. Why would you discourage peaceful protest in the face of this kind of egregious social violence? I mean, that's what this shit is. This is not about we're trying to protect America from illegal immigrants. They could give a shit less about illegal immigrants, and they love illegal immigrants because they can exploit them. They want to make it so they can treat whoever they want to treat badly and keep funneling money to themselves. And then you have people like, you know, Nancy Pelosi and on who are supposedly on our side telling people who, you know, are encouraging people to stand up for themselves, telling her to sit down and shut up. And then, you know, Mike, what you said about Permit Patty, like I kind of felt that same way too. Like I thought, like when I watched the interview with her, I was like, you know what? She didn't even know what she was doing. Like there are some people out there that are not malicious. Like their racism is on a subconscious level. It's about their reaction. It's like when they see somebody in one color do something, the reaction is more benign than if they see somebody else another color doing it. And she just stepped in it because it got caught on tape. And that's why I think she's shocked like she is. She really did not realize at the time that what she was doing was racist. Maybe it evolved over time and she realized it, and that's why she was hiding. But I'm thinking that what happened is she was just, I'm so mad and I'm frustrated about some stupid problem. You know, I'm going to pick on this kid over here. And then when the kid didn't listen to her or show her the proper amount of respect, she escalated it immediately. And then she got herself into a bunch of shit for being stupid.
Yeah. I think, and she admitted that. Well, she didn't admit that, but she kind of loosely admitted, you know, that in a way, because she did say it was stress related, so that kind of supports what you're saying. And I think that specifically, like, I don't think that she's going through something that is special as far as humans go through. I think we all have those moments where we get caught in a moment and we're like, oh man, like I didn't react correctly to this, or I approached this incorrectly for whatever faults we have, and it kind of reveals things about us that we have to fix. Sometimes it doesn't reveal anything. Sometimes we don't want to see what and who we are. So I don't think her having a moment like that is particularly special. I think we all go through moments like that. It's just that her moment was heavily publicized and captured on film. And I think it's kind of good not to just, like, I guess, talk about her situation in isolation, just kind of use that situation as kind of like a template for how humans react to seeing themselves in a certain light. Now, as far as the whole, I guess, protesting politicians that you have a problem with by kicking them out of restaurants or asking them to leave. Asking them to leave the restaurants. Like, this is a kind of a good example of how the whole Michelle Obama way of looking at things is very flawed, and that quite possibly could be based on the amount of privilege she finds herself in. That whole when you go low, we go high BS. That's probably a consequence of her being in a more privileged position. No, she can say that. She can say she can go high because she is already high in stature and already high in influence. So she can say that without batting an eye. But that kind of approach doesn't work towards people that want to drown you in a political bathtub. That approach does not work for people that don't even want to live in the same world as you. That approach doesn't work for people who don't want to see, they don't want a future with people who look like you. They don't want a future with you in it. That doesn't work with them. And I think people need to understand specifically about the Sarah Huckabee Sanders situation is that she is a civil servant. So it is definitely not the same thing if, let's say, a civilian, that happened to a civilian. She is a public civil servant. So the reaction to her, it was based on her actions, her behavior, the policy, the agenda of an administration that she supports. It's definitely not the same as, let's say, somebody being kicked out of a restaurant or asked to leave because of the color of their skin or because of their sexual orientation or anything like that. That's why I do believe that there's a lot of people trying to, I guess, gaslight this situation, like her dad did on Twitter. And actually, Bill O'Reilly did the same thing. I guess they called it discrimination. They said she was a victim of bigotry, when the opposite is the case. They're just trying to do this fallacious flip to try to take attention away and try to absolve themselves for their abhorrent agenda that targets people who are, I guess, the most marginalized. So they marginalize the most marginalized over and over again. So yeah, man.
It's definitely a disappointing outcome. I mean, don't get me wrong, man. I know what this leads to, and it's not good, because no matter what you do in peaceful protest, these people are going to kill you. Like that's how they operate. Like, this is going to get worse before it gets better. Now they're kicking people out of restaurants, and you can see the Breitbart articles, and you can see all the Drudge reports. They're talking it up like people were, like, threatening her life and threatening her children's lives and stuff. And people are out there reading this stuff and they're eating it up. And Alex Jones, he's over there talking it up too. And it's a powder keg. It's only going to take a little spark. Somebody's going to say something the wrong way, and then it's going to turn really violent. I mean, you've got people occupying ICE detention centers and shutting them down. There's private industry involved in that, and they're not going to put up with that much longer. And see, this is not like the North Dakota pipeline, and that was bad. Like, that was bad, but that was under a president who at least pretended to give a damn. This president would take an incident like that and turn it into a massacre, and his supporters would say it was a good thing he did it too.
That's very true. Very true. We're living in some times, man. I don't know if I can add a lot to what you said, man. The Trump administration is toxic, man. It's already toxic.
It is. It is just so toxic, and I wish the media would call this shit out, man. I wish you guys were CNN. I wish a lot of people like you were CNN, like to actually call people out on lies and stuff. Like, every time I listen to the news or I listen to the radio, it's so hard to get these people to call this guy a liar. I think I've heard it twice, maybe 3 times where I've heard a reporter or I've heard an interview where somebody said this is a lie. And this guy does it every day, day in and day out. I mean, this is abhorrent behavior. Nobody would put up with this kind of behavior from their spouse, from their children, from their boss. You know what I mean? Like, really, the country's going to put up with this from this guy? You know it's so underhanded, and you know why people are allowing it to happen. And it's just like, I wish people would call that shit out. And you're a liar. You are a liar. But they don't.
The office of the presidency. That status has always come with respect. No matter who occupies it. So I think this is just an extension of that. People in the media are scared to actually call him out for what he is. If he's a bigot, say it. If he's a liar, say it. But again, you're part of the corporate media and you do want access, so you kind of have to play the game. So it's horrible. It's very horrible because
at the expense of the American people.
Yeah,
I love their idea of a meritocracy where I have to earn respect, but this fool gets it because of his office.
That's right.
It's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
That's right,
it's not a meritocracy. All right, fellas. I know I'm hogging up your time, so we'll get off here. Take some other callers.
Man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you
All
calling,
right, y'all
man.
have a good one.
As always, man. You have a good one too, bro.
All right.
Peace out.
All right, we got area code 319 on the line. Welcome to LTMB Live.
Hello, it's Dark Y2K, Olwine, Iowa. I'm out where the cornfields are, and we've got a presidential election coming up in 2020. A lot of people don't realize that important deadlines coming up, and only a few candidates have come out so far. So if you're interested in having somebody run for president, or even possibly be vice president, one of the most important days is this year, August 19th, the Iowa State Fair, the corn dog thing. It's important for anyone running for president 2020 to get a corn dog this year, because that's where you get on the news and that's where the breakout happens, because the election for Iowa starts much earlier than it does for everybody else. All the candidates will be concentrating here, and that's what brings up the news. Hillary's already been in the state. Bernie's already been in the state. Some other candidates have mentioned coming here. But people forget that the election for 2020 doesn't start in 2020.
Right.
And that now is when it has to be coming up. And we have just a few candidates coming up that are really, most of them are more of the same type of candidates. So anybody that wants to get any kind of new blood into the party needs to get it out now. They need to get their Iowa eyes on them before August. And I think some people may not realize it. There's got to be good politicians out there from your states that you might not mind sharing with the country. Now's the time to share. After August, it's really too late, and they don't have very much chance to fight against the political machine that'll be just in force for anybody that's at this August. And what the news people do is they try to catch them in the most embarrassing pose, eating a corn dog. So you find it and original.
You almost made it
not
through without
embarrassing.
laughing. You almost made it through without laughing. Almost, dude.
But I am serious though. This is very important. But the humorous thing is how the news companies line up and try to get a picture of them taking or eating the hot dog the wrong way. And you know, it's a little bite from the side that's acceptable. Deep throating it is not. They'll try to make. Some people will try to bite it from the end, which is always the picture that they're waiting to snap. You know.
I remember. Wasn't it Kasich that was in New York and he was eating a pizza
with
and he was eating with a
knife
fork.
and fork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, these are the little gaffes that people don't realize that are so important.
Right.
You know, I don't want to take any more of your time. Just if you have a candidate you like and want to get them out there, get them to Iowa August.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's good advice, man.
That's good advice, man.
You know, and that kind of brings us to something that I think I don't know that we've been saying it repeatedly, but I do remember us saying that if you're really about something, then that probably means that the political machine isn't behind you. You know, like you're not going to have like the most money, because if you're not taking, if you're not getting money from corporate PACs and just corporations everywhere, like I said, that political machine's not going to be behind you. You need something else besides money. You know what I'm saying? You need some type of celebrity. You need a way
you have to put
get
yourself
your message
out there.
out there. Yeah.
You have to put yourself out there in some kind of way. You have to kind of buttress your message with some sort of presence.
Yeah. And you need to do that early too, just like what he was saying. You need to do that early because they have the money to reach people no matter what time it is. You know?
So
but
you actually have to
that
be somewhere.
Yeah. Like for candidates that aren't going to have those corporations behind them, all of this big money, this dark money behind them, you need to start as early as humanly possible, because it needs to be like a snowball, you know? Bernie probably even started too late last time, like, last go around, early 2000. Well, it's really like more like mid 2015 when he started. It's probably too late, you know? He mustered up a lot of support, but still, if you don't have that political machine behind you, you better start way before come 2020. All right, so we got another caller, 704 area code. Caller, you're on the line with LTMB Live.
What's up, guys? It's William from North Carolina.
Big Willie, what's up, man?
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
We
good, man. How about you?
Good. I just wanted to speak for a minute on Venezuela and maybe a little bit on Cuba. With Venezuela, the media coverage is really bad, inaccurate, and a lot of warmongering, and it's hard to get good information and reliable information. But I've followed it and followed a reporter who's doing work in Venezuela, and it's not any big networks or anything, so I'm not sure how many people are familiar, but that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. I'm sure a lot of people probably suspect that they're being lied to about Venezuela, or they're not getting the whole story, and that would be the case. What's particularly disturbing is with all the incidents we've had in the past of South American left-wing governments and democratically elected officials being overthrown and in favor of a U.S. puppet, a dictator, a right-wing violent dictatorship put in place. This has happened so many times, and that's what they're trying to do in Venezuela. The news reports about the scarcity is a lie. There is a somewhat of a shortage of food, but people aren't starving. There's certain products that the government has had to go in and take some warehouses at times, but they've tried to do their best not to intervene in that way. that's kind of the beauty of what's going on in Venezuela, if you ask me. It's the power of the people. The people want majority, the vast majority of the people are getting in a large way what they want. And it's very upsetting to the right wingers. The ones in Venezuela are actually taking money from U.S. government, likely their CIA down there. They're trying the same old tricks, and the righties down there are very violent. They're burning people in the streets who have the black Venezuelans. There's some racism going on. They're being burnt in the streets. They're being hung. There's one reporter was actually shot down there, was wearing a bulletproof vest. But there's just so many cases of what's going on, and the government hasn't went in with violence against them, except for when completely necessary. But usually they carry out what they're going to do with impunity. And I just wanted to talk about it for a minute, because it's not true. What's being said in the media is completely false. It's a lie. And the reason for the scarcity is there's a lot of the businesses or corporations obviously have right-wing motives, like any would, and they are withholding certain products and creating a black market and running the prices up. So the ones that aren't, like, if toilet paper is one that they've been able to withhold from the people, but there's other paper products they can use for toilet paper. So the government hasn't stepped in on that. That's just one case where the government's trying to do their best not to give any reason for anybody to say that there's any sort of dictatorship. And they're doing a very good job. I'm actually quite impressed. It's, the government is sort of, in my opinion, is like a bit of a vanguard. They're sort of a placeholder right now to allow the country to work the things out without the government coming in and dictating everything to everybody. And the strength in numbers for the left wing is outrageous. So that's why the right wing is resorting to violent, disgusting tactics. They're attacking the economy. They're attacking people. And
let me ask you something, Will. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something right quick, man. Let me ask you something right quick. Why do you think, I guess, a situation in Venezuela is, I guess, being, I guess, distorted in American, in United States media?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think? You know what I'm saying? Why do you think that is? Or like, the blaming the situation of Venezuela on. I'm pretty sure you heard this, blaming it on socialism. Oh yeah, you've heard that. I'm pretty sure, since you've been paying attention probably more than we have about Venezuela in particular. Why do you think that it's distorted in U.S. media? What's going on down there?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. That's definitely something that needs to be talked about for a moment if anybody's listening and not aware of what's going on. The reason for that is the United States. I mean, we know how we are, how our country is when it comes to anything remotely close to socialist or communist ideologies pops up. We try to squash that, and we've done it. I mean, there's not really anything like that in the world right now. And the reason the U.S. government is trying to squash it, particularly in Venezuela, is because it's so successful. And if you let one country get away with it, it will never stop fighting them on this. Never. No matter how ridiculous it is for us to do so. And I'll tell you why. It's because if we let them get away with it, what's going to happen next? It's sort of that mafia mentality. So if we let Venezuela, and we know the tradition in South America, I mean, these people are, I mean, look at Colombia and their history. Bolivia. I mean, and Cuba. I mean, we know why there's no socialism in South America. And we know who to look in the mirror and see to find out why. And we just can't let it happen. I mean, if you're capitalism does not do competition very well because it's such an awful system. And we just can't allow that to happen because of the example it'll set for other countries to try to move in that same direction. Is that a good answer?
Yeah. See, because that Mike is right that we haven't. I don't think I've seen a lot of coverage on what's going on in Venezuela.
It's hard to find anything.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about the situation with the prison. Well, yeah, it's like a prison detention facility that was going on there.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything like that. It actually would go directly against what's actually happening there. As a matter of fact,
saying that there was like some
that's what's so impressive.
There.
Yeah, that's what's so impressive about this is the government's not stepping in and squashing this very small group of people who have taken money, in large part have taken money from the government, or for whatever reasons are connected to try to put in place a fascist, like the United States, a fascist oligarch type of government in Venezuela. And that's what's so impressive about it is the government says that's what we've seen cases where there were communist governments or socialist, so-called communist, so-called socialist governments, and the ones who even claim to be that now are not even close. Like China or Korea, North Korea. I mean, they're not even close. They're very tyrannical. And it's just beautiful to see this in Venezuela because the people's wish, I mean, it would be easy for Maduro to step in and shut that shit down. But he's not having the government get involved in a way that puts the government as the last word. Because that's what a socialism or even a real communist type of system is all about. It's about having what majority of the people want, having a system that works for the people. And I just, it's incredible because all they would have to do is give in. All they would have to do is fight, go after these right wingers and put them in the jail where they belong. They're out here killing people, literally killing people, and causing all kinds of chaos and messing with the transportation systems, the economy, just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And they're not winning despite that. And all the government would have to do is go after them, but then what would happen? Then there would be easier for the U.S. government to say, look, they're a dictatorship because they're squashing dissent in the country, and that's not what's happening. What also was what they tried to do with this last election was the right-wingers instructed all their candidates do not participate in this election because when it's over, we'll challenge it, say that we weren't allowed to participate, and then we'll try to get an election where Maduro can't run. Well, one of the candidates just wasn't having it and went ahead and ran in the race anyway and screwed it up for the righties because that plan didn't work. Now they can't lie and say that they weren't allowed to participate because they were, and he was crushed. That candidate was crushed. And the government is in place. Maduro's government won the election easily and by a landslide. And, that just goes to show you part of the tactics that are going on. and the media is a huge part of it. But these are blatant lies. That's what's so bad about it, is the lengths they're going to. How can you call yourself a journalist? My God, you just flat out lying. You're a propaganda piece for your corporate masters. You're not a journalist. So stop trying to pretend like it.
There's been a lot of reports about saying that the election was illegitimate, and the United States, there are a lot of Latin countries that were saying the same thing, that grouped together and say that here's this dictator Maduro again, and the United States is saying that it's illegitimate. I believe the main rival of Maduro wanted to bring the dollar revamp the economy in Venezuela by making their currency the dollar now. So that's great. One thing actually is funny, because one of the reasons I think that the United States hasn't went in militarily in Venezuela is for the support that it actually has in South America. South America has a group, or there's a group that meets, kind of like a G7 type thing. There's groups like this, geopolitical groups of countries that get together, and I forget what it's called, but the one that includes the South American countries, they've actually had to call the United States off of things that we're trying to do to other countries in South America, and there's some solidarity in South America, but it doesn't get played. That the United States can't let that get out, or they're going to try their best not to let that get out, but that's the case. And I do think that if, the United States has almost been kicked out of that more than once, and isolated from that geopolitical, economic structure they have that includes mainly South American countries, and because of the interference and like what they're trying to do with Venezuela and what they've done in other countries. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say it's perfect or nobody's done anything wrong or anything like that. I'm not going to say that. What I'm saying is I'm impressed. I'm very impressed to see what I've seen, because I'm going to look at it as skeptically as anybody. And I can't find cases where they're doing very much wrong. I mean, they're allowing these things to happen. They're allowing awful things to happen, and they're trying to weather it. As a people, the government, Maduro's government, taken, who's come in after Chavez, who's now dead, has come in, and they are in solidarity, and they are trying to weather the storm and overcome it. And they've overcome it before with what Chavez was able to accomplish before he died. And it's quite impressive. It's quite impressive. And I'm telling you, if they're going to open themselves up to this type of criticism, why do you think it hasn't been acted on? Because it's not true, and they can't prove it. It's not going to hold up. It might hold up in the media. It might hold up to people who can't get the information, and there's very little of that. If you look hard enough, you can find it. And you'll find that what's being said in the media is totally wrong. As a matter of fact, Abby Martin was down there, and she picked up a handful of newspapers because there were rumors, or what's being said in the government, that the United States is saying that the Venezuelan government is controlling the media. She found that two of the newspapers were left-leaning, 4 of them were right-wing newspapers, and one of the newspapers out of the 7 she picked up was reporting on both sides, was neutral. So it's just a lot of lies. Every bit of it is demonstrably false of what's being said. And some of the things that are actually happening, we're not telling the truth in the U.S. media about who's really committing those acts and what the real reason is for those situations that are occurring. Like I said, with the scarcity of some products and the, not famine level, but some food,
lack of abundance with food that you would expect to see.
Well,
but yes, I know this is completely against what you'll hear in the media in the United States.
Yeah, and this is how they're able to do it, though. Like I said, I don't know what's going down there, but
it shouldn't be a surprise.
I know
to you,
for
though.
a lot of people. No, it's not a surprise. For a lot of people, though, it's a dire situation down there. A lot of people have been trying to get out of that country.
No, it's not. It's not. That's actually funny. I'm not laughing. I like literally could not stop from laughing when you said that. I mean, there's people down there who are urging their family members to come, despite what's going on, because it's not a dire situation. The people, everybody's being fed at least 3 meals a day. The children are guaranteed 3 meals a day without charge. It's laughable, man. It's not true. I've seen interviews with people who are living there, interviews with people who had family there whose family were still trying to encourage them to move back to Venezuela.
So what is the economy situation down there then?
The economy situation? Well, I think it'd be very good, honestly, having the type of government that's in place. The issues are you have an economic war being waged on Venezuela. There is an economic war. There's not just sanctions. There's not just U.S. interference in trade. When you know how powerful that can be. But there's literally inside the country people who are at the head of the corporations that make supplies and industrial corporations who are doing their best to bring the economy down. I mean, the media, the economy, things of that nature is how you take it down. And the government's doing a great job of being able to maintain their presence without being overbearing. And it's impressive. And
well, see, that's what I mean. When there's a problem, they're able to, because they have the control of the media, of course. But when there's a problem,
nobody has control of the media down there.
No, I'm not saying down there. I'm talking about here. I'm talking about stateside.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a perceived problem in Venezuela, so they're able to say, well, there's a problem, so it's this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to get to the truth if that's not exactly what the truth is.
Well, look at what you're seeing in the media. Are they giving you any details? Are they being ingenuous or not ingenuous about what they're saying? I mean, if you really look at it.
Yeah, I've seen some details for I think they said 2014, 2016, there was so many people that were leaving Venezuela to search for a better opportunity because they couldn't, they couldn't survive there. That's what I've been seeing.
Right.
You see anything else? Yeah.
Sure. I mean, the media is going to say what they're going to say. Like I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but who knows? There was a transition period from Chavez to Maduro. Like I said, I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I don't pay attention to everything that comes out in the media here. I've seen it. It's ridiculous. So I don't really stay on it like that because I know it's a bunch of lies, so I'm going to waste my time. But of course I do watch the Hawks, so to speak. So yes, I do watch. Like I said, I'm not on top of it like that, but I keep an eye on it. That's for sure. And it's very disturbing, man. And don't take my word for it, man. Just look further into it, and I guarantee you that this BS in the U.S. Mainstream media will fall apart very quickly and unravel. And that's why I brought it up, man. This is important. People do not know, and how can you blame anybody for not believing what's going on? Because you're getting inundated with this BS, and nothing true is coming out of there except for obscure networks that can't get played in the U.S. and can't get. People are only. It's kind of like esoteric information. People who are aware of where to get information can get it, but it's not easy, and most people aren't aware of those resources.
Well, we appreciate you bringing this up, man. Looks like we're about to run out of time, so we want to just cut you off. But
and I also want to say real quick about Cuba, man. Big ups for them to be able to export doctors all over the world. Their education levels are great, and because everyone's given that ability, and their doctors can't make a huge sum of money in Cuba, so the ones who want that type of obscene levels of wealth are free to work outside of Cuba, and they do en masse. I mean, they couldn't keep all those doctors working in Cuba anyway, so big ups for that.
Yeah, we've heard about that, yeah. But we appreciate you calling in, man. All right, yep. Got him.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, though,
man. That was almost just in time, because it went down to 3, 2, 1.
But yeah, I didn't get but you probably still listening. But there's I believe it was from 2015 to 2017, or maybe 2015, 2017. I saw that more than 1 million Venezuelans have migrated from there, and that's coming from, I think this is the International Organization for Migration. So I don't know, I have no idea how reputable this organization is. I can't say that I've ever looked at this site before. But those are things that are consistently being reported about Venezuela, about how people are fleeing because of the economy situation. And I don't think that's anything that, like, even Maduro, whatever. I know I'm saying.
See, now I knew how to say it. Now I don't because of you.
Maduro?
No.
Maduro?
No.
No, I know that's not it. I know that's
Maduro.
Maduro. I don't think that's it either. I don't think that's it
somebody
either.
In the comment section clowning us. Somebody in the comment section clowning us. I already know.
But anyway, I don't think that's something that he has run away from either, about the economy. I think just anything coming out of Venezuela is saying that something does have to be done about the economy situation. I don't know if it's as bad as what is being reported, but it seems like something does have to be done.
Yeah, because half of their economy was based on their oil exports, and now of course we have sanctions on them.
Yeah, and Will's saying he doesn't doubt the migration, but does that prove anything? I mean, it could or it couldn't. You'd have to figure out what was the catalyst. Like, when did it start, and can you point to a specific reason and why those people started leaving? When you're talking about numbers like that, when you're talking about over 1 million people leaving, it's got to be something. It's got to be something. Now, is it because they can't feed themselves? Hell if I know. I have no idea. Could it be violence? Could it be this? I don't know. That's not something I can say I've done the research on to even speculate on. I can't say. But it does seem like something's going on there that, has to be handled. Whether Maduro, whether he's a dictator or not, that's, like I said, that's not just coming from the U.S. Coming from I believe it's coming from the European Union, and I believe there's like 14 Latin countries, I think, that kind of, that's their unified position, including like Colombia and Chile and Brazil, and just these different nations that say that, like, this whole election that they held was illegitimate, and I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, that's not something I can talk about that intellectually.
True that, yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But before we get out of here tonight, because the show is about to come to a close, because we've been on here for a good 3 hours, we want to give a shout out to Gear Randon David Vaughn and Warren Fry.
One love.
From shooting some money through Super Chat. We really appreciate y'all.
That's
for
some
doing
90s
that.
stuff right there. One love.
Oh my goodness. All I need is that is definitely that's definitely some
one love.
Now, that's kind of like that's that New York lingo too.
Yeah,
that kind of started in New York.
Done.
Get done.
Get done.
Y'all started that God shit too.
Yeah,
Yo, God. What's up, God? That's that Raekwon.
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah,
but yeah, thank you, Gear Randon, David Vaughn. It's the first time I seen you not only in the super chat, but in the chat period. I seen you typing in all caps, man. You was all hyped up, bruh. Boy, we had some. If you still watching, man, we did notice you in the chat, man, with your all caps.
No doubt.
You was all hyped up and stuff. That's cool.
Said check out some
yeah,
Carnell, Antonio Moore. I never seen them.
Yeah, I saw that. Who was saying that? That was Jim?
No, that was David.
Oh, it was David. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's talking about on the super chat message. Yeah. Oh yeah, Yvette Carnell. Yeah, I mean, we actually talked about her a little bit on the last show. But
what?
Oh no. Yeah. Tone Talks. Antonio Moore. Yeah, he does Tone Talks. Okay. Yeah, David Vaughn. Yeah, okay. I do. I watch Tone Talks. I watch him more than I watch Yvette. But Tone Talks.
They're both on the same thing.
No. He does his own thing. It's a thing called Tone Talks. He did. I know he used to be a musician, so he worked with a lot of hip hop artists. But now he is on point with his economic conversations and his conversations on culture, race, music, how it all ties in to economics.
So
centered on black people.
Who's this Carnell then?
Yvette Carnell, she is, you've probably seen her before. She does a lot of stuff with the Boyce Watkins. She has kind of does a lot of stuff in connection with Boyce Watkins. But she has her own little show. She's on YouTube too. But I listen to Tone a little bit more. But yeah, I recognize those two. But yeah.
And a shout out to all our patrons on Patreon as well. Thank you for continuously supporting us and financially supporting us. L Train, L Train.
You always gotta get that last word in.
See, I'm gonna see L Train one day. Okay, I must be going to a stand up, comedic performance because this mug got jokes for days. I'm not wearing a Knicks hat. Okay, see, you know what? The Knicks used to be my team. They used to be my team. Back in the day, they used to be my team. Once Brooklyn set up their franchise in Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying? Because they used to be New Jersey Nets. Once they came to Brooklyn, I had to switch over because I'm from Brooklyn, 1. And 2, New York, man, the New York Knicks, I just can't get, man, they have mishandled their franchise
since Patrick Ewing.
Oh my gosh, man.
Since the Patrick Ewing, John Starks, Oakley, Mason, since those days,
the errors are numerous. Okay,
there haven't been anything since then, man.
It's not just that like they gave it an earnest effort, it didn't work. Man.
I would say
it's worse than that.
They were climbing that hill when they had Allen Houston. Yeah. Remember when they went through that period when they had Allen Houston, or when they had Latrell Sprewell?
Right.
They were looked like they were kind of like building something and just.
Nah, man, I had to leave.
That's one. I'm telling you, I was not a New York Knicks fan, but I love that team, man, with Allen Houston, man.
Yeah.
They weren't even
Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson.
They weren't even that bad when your boy Charlie Ward was at the point guard. They weren't that bad.
That's true. Just for better part of a decade, man, they have been trash, man. And like I said, once Brooklyn set up shop, it's like, hey, I'm rolling with Brooklyn, man. I know Brooklyn's trash right now, but at least they're young. They do have some talent. And going forward,
they don't have the history of fuck ups.
Exactly, they don't have that. They straight up set up a new franchise. Really, I mean, same franchise, but like I said, they got the new location. There was some mighty missteps with the whole Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett trade, but we're done with that. Going forward, we got our own draft pick. So, like I said, I'm with Brooklyn, man. With Brooklyn, the New York Knicks, man. I just can't, man. But yeah, appreciate everybody that supports us, whether it's financially or whether it's not. If you come and you watch the stream, you know, you share our material, or not our material, you share all the videos on Facebook, or on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We hardly ever post on Instagram. That's just another. I need like an Instagram person or something like that, man, because I just don't get on it that much, man. But anyway, we appreciate all that support. Just some results, and you know, I was talking about the governor race in New York. I forgot. In New York today, it's only federal races. The local and state races, I believe, are in September. It's September, I want to say 19th. Let me see. New York.
Yeah,
September 13th.
Yeah.
September 13th. It's on a Thursday. Weird. Usually on Tuesdays. But anyway, yeah, that's for the local and state races. So that's when you know, Cynthia Nixon is gonna face off with Governor Cuomo to see who's gonna be in that Democratic primary, or who's gonna win the Democratic primary. But here in South Carolina, Henry McMaster, the incumbent governor, looks like he's gonna pull away and win that Republican primary runoff against John Warren. Here in District 2, Sean Kerrigan, it looks like he's going to beat Annabelle Robertson. And he, you know, we were talking about, he was, you know, he got a lower percentage of the vote the last time. He was down probably about, I don't know if it was it 1,000 votes, maybe 1,000, 1,500 votes, something like that.
Who? Which one? Which race?
Sean Kerrigan. I think he like he said, was like
he
43, 41,
and then took the lead.
Yeah.
At the last time I checked it was like 91% of the precincts.
That's what it is right now.
Still out there. Okay.
So he's above 50% right now. He's at 53.2. So looks like he's gonna come away with that race. And both of them, you know, self-described. Well, really, Kerrigan views himself as a moderate Democrat.
Even though his position seemed like he is very, very leftist. I mean, left.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say like way left. I'm talking about to like the end of the spectrum left.
I think he's doing that because of the state that he's in.
Think so?
Why would you categorize yourself as a moderate?
Oh, basically just kind of hope people focus on how you categorize yourself,
right? Instead
rather
of the
than
actual,
them trying to pry open all of your leftism,
right? Because if you say you're a progressive, to some people that's going to have a negative connotation. To some people, of course, especially in a, what do you call it?
Burgundy.
A burgundy state.
Burgundy.
So that just might be some type of, you know, political positioning on his behalf, but it seems like he's going to come away with the win. In Utah, what's his head? Romney.
And it was funny. He was the underdog.
Yeah, he just completely whooped his opponent. He's at over 70%, almost 75% right now.
That's just the one-sided primary.
Yeah.
So he wasn't the underdog in that race.
Yeah.
But he's projected to be the underdog towards the end of the year when they have the general.
What else? And then of course in New York too. What district is that again? I forgot the district where
Chelsea,
Alexandria. No, that's Maryland.
That's Maryland.
Talking about Alexandria. Cortez. What district is that? Man?
Yeah, man, I don't know why I closed it out, but I just had it up.
Let me see. And I'm seeing all these different. I was reading all these headlines. It was like, shocker, she beats the incumbent. You know,
that mug hasn't been like, that mug went unchallenged for what, like 14 years? Come on,
time, man. I'm just like I said, I'm surprised because I don't know how many people saw that coming. Like I said, she's definitely a progressive candidate. She definitely was not outraising him. Definitely didn't outraise him. Damn, I just saw it and it cut me off. See, you know how New York Times do, right?
And it doesn't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold up. Christine. Yeah. Okay. Of course, Christine Gillibrand or whatever. Person Ganson, combat.
All right. You know what? I'm done with you. Done with you, dog.
Gregory Meeks. I ain't gonna say nothing about that.
Who?
Gregory Meeks.
Oh, hold on. What happened with that one?
Yeah. Yeah. I know, dog. Like, killed it, man. Like, not even close, dog.
That was, hold up. So, when is I gotta check when's the this primary promotion. All right, Massachusetts. I was trying to see when Massachusetts was. This September 4th. Damn, some of these things are late.
Which one
as
are you looking
can
for?
be.
Which one are you looking for?
I was looking for Massachusetts when their primary was gonna be, because that was what Meeks was. You know, the two candidates.
The two candidates.
In Massachusetts.
Yeah. Wait a second. I didn't know he was running for. That is right. Dylan Ratigan. I totally forgot Dylan Ratigan.
Yeah. He didn't go anywhere.
He didn't go anywhere though.
No, he didn't go anywhere.
Did better than some people we know though.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, in New York. I mean, not New York, in Maryland. For what was it? I forgot. Was it Senate or was it Congress?
Are you talking about Jealous?
No.
You're talking about Maryland.
You're
talking about it was I think it was Senate. It was Senate. You talking about Chelsea?
Yeah.
It was Senate.
Yeah, Chelsea did not do well.
It was U.S. Senate.
Chelsea did not do well at all. All right. New York House District 14. So yeah, 98% reporting. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, 57%. Beating the incumbent?
Not just the incumbent. Somebody who was supposed to take over Nancy Pelosi's position.
Yo.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a pick up your face moment right there, man. Any other ones that we got to highlight? Like I said, yeah, Chelsea Manning. Like I said, I think she got like 9% or something like that. Was it like 9% of the vote?
Yeah, 8 or 9%.
Ben Jealous, he defeats Rashawn Baker in the Maryland Democratic primary for governor. So I could be in support of Ben Jealous, no doubt. He was back in 2016, he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. He ultimately supported Hillary Clinton. I'm not gonna hold that against him. Nah, I'm not gonna hold that against him. I'm really not gonna hold that against anybody that voted for Hillary Clinton, because a lot of people see it. A lot of people saw it in 2016 as probably. I'm looking at it now. Like I said, in 2016, we had a goal. A goal that we thought was very attainable. Didn't work. Didn't happen. So going forward, it's like, would I implement the same strategy? Like, would I do the same thing going forward? Not with what I know right now, because it doesn't look like there's a pathway to any kind of significant kind of progress. Not in the way that we were trying to, do something about it. So I don't begrudge his vote. Not at this point. I said 8-9%. No, Chelsea Manning only got 5.7% of the vote as of right now. 92% reporting. Not good. Ben Cardin. I don't know a lot about Ben Cardin. Do you?
Nope.
I don't know a lot about Ben Cardin. But Ben Cardin got over 80% of the vote, and he is the incumbent. Don't know a lot about Ben Cardin. A lot of people still talking about Venezuela. So Ben Jealous is gonna go up against the incumbent governor, Larry Hogan. That should be interesting. I mean, Maryland, they've had Democratic governors, they've had Republican governors. Don't know which way it's going to go. So, the midterms, man, they're going to be very interesting. Will the Democrats take back the House? A lot of look, I'm seeing a lot of analysis saying that they are very likely to do so. Now
they have to ball out, though. I mean,
they do.
That's the problem. It's not like they can play their hand like they can't play their hand like very just lackadaisically.
They gotta, I think,
they got
overcome 24 seats.
Yeah, they got to ball out. They got to ball out, like win a high percentage, and even to take control. I don't know if it's going to happen.
It could happen. But it doesn't look like they're going to take the Senate, though.
No.
I think they have way more seats in the Senate to defend. And there are some people that are perceived as like on shaky ground right now.
Yeah, you're acting like there's no seats being lost as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
Because I think in the Senate, what's this dude's name? Dude that I cannot stand. He's the Trump supporter. Joe
Manchin.
Yeah. Good old Joe. Yeah.
Good old Joe.
His seat is looked at as shaky. So is the senator from North Dakota, I believe. Is it North Dakota? Heidi Heitkamp?
Yeah.
I think it's North Dakota.
We talked about her.
Yeah, we've talked about her. But see, these are two people that are supportive of Trump to some degree. Joe Manchin to like he wants to bear hug everything that's Donald Trump, even though he says like things like, there might be some things I might not support, blah 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 blah. She talking to the Will in there.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
All right, man. 11:15. We're gonna get out of here. Next show will be on Thursday. Feels like it's already Thursday. Thursday, 8 p.m. For me, it does, man. I had practice today. Been a long day.
So you got to work with the youngins,
little kiddies, man. Trying to see. I'm telling Mike I was trying to install my offense. Because at the beginning, the word, you gotta install your offense.
I think like that word install just sounds a little bit too extravagant when you're talking about 6-year-olds. Just the word itself, install. It's like you like the new offensive coordinator. Like that's the word you use when you coming on as offensive coordinator at a more organized level.
I know, I know.
Like high school.
Yeah,
that's when you can use install.
Yo, the only the offense I'm installing is dribble, pass. All right, keep your head up. Okay, pass, shoot. That's about it.
Okay, so it's not really like a playbook. Just like I guess very brief instructions.
Oh yeah. We're gonna have a motion offense. We're gonna have a motion.
A bunch of motion. Bunch of
motion. And then on defense, a 2-3. Now that's an installment of a 2-3 defense. It seems like they're getting that better than. Well, they seem to be getting the defense better than the offense.
I can see that. Yeah,
because on defense you got to stay in front.
You got to stay in front of people. So
get the ball, rebound. So it's a process, man. It's a process, though.
I don't know how I would kind of. I think defense is a little bit easier to implement because then it's easier to make it one of those. Hey, this is this is your area to defend.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. On offense, you have to be aware of what you're doing
and what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, and what they're not getting. Well, some of them are not getting right now is that you need to have a clear lane to pass it. Like if there's a defender right here, you can't throw it. That's what I'm trying to get into their mind. Like, Muzz is just tossing the ball. And it's like, no,
So
see, there's the defender right there.
And see, that's the thing. You just got to blame yourself as a coach. If you say, pass the ball, they pass the ball, but to the wrong person. It's like, well, you told me to pass it.
Exactly.
Like, you forget they're not
like
they're
passing like cross the lane and stuff. I'm like, you see, dude was right there, so you can't do that. You gotta either move or tell your teammate to. Yeah, like I said, it's a process, man. It's a process. Anyway. But we appreciate everybody that joined us for tonight's program. We will be back in 2 days on Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope that you find the time to join us for that program. There were a few things that we didn't get to tonight that we will be sure to get to on the next program. But until then, man, everybody have a good night. Have a good couple days. That's all I got, man.
Yeah, man. That's all we got, man. We'll just see everybody on Thursday. Appreciate everybody being in the chat, being engaging with one another. We always love that.
Let the match begin. Peace out.